we're off. Welcome to the show, guys. BALLBUSTERS episode 106. I had to look first. The Ball Punisher. Yet another one. How GPS actually works. This is going to be a fun time, man. Brian's logic is going to smoke your brains. My sidekick can't be here today. He's got some computer issues. Shout out to Nathan Oakley, the distinguished one. But I think we got a few people in here. Let me check. We have a few people. Adam, you're going to be the co-pilot.
Am I on Superchats?
Yes, you're on Superchat duty.
On it.
So right in the middle of Brian's presentation, you just blurt in, stop. Yeah.
I'm not in the presentation.
Yeah, I don't think you're in the presentation. I see the slides. There is no picture of you in the presentation now.
That's not what I meant, but I'm kind of disappointed at that news.
But have you heard we have a new saying in BALLBUSTERS? It's called Brian Adams.
Oh, that was coined by you after I said it, correct?
That's a load of nonsense.
It was done in the summer of '69, right?
Yes, it was. That's what we got here for you today, folks. I'll tell you, there's some interesting times before we get to the presentation and stuff. Let Brian get a hold of himself there. But we're living in some interesting times now in the flat earth, quote unquote, community. And it looks like I was quite prophetic back in the day. Yeah? What it's looking like to me.
About what?
I said the biggest threat to flat earth are pretender clown flat earthers.
Oh, that, yeah, of course.
Correct, I remember.
Yeah. We got a whole slew of them. Yeah. Some interesting times. I'll tell you what, there's a reckoning coming.
They're starting to form guilds.
Mark my words, there is a reckoning coming.
I tell you what's already come.
What?
A couple of super chats, not me. Quad Bozzle, $2 super chat. Get to work, Adam. Thanks, mate. I'm on it. You say I'm on it. And then Tony Whitcomb, £20 super chat. Big love to. It's meant to say Mitchell. Big love to Mitchell from Australia for his facts on the Black Swan and Lake Pontchartrain. Yeah, I enjoyed that. Right.
You were getting ready to say Michelle, weren't you?
It says Michelle. There's a T missing. That's why I had to double check. But yeah, cheers. I agree. Great video. Funny.
Thanks, Tony and Twadwalls. Appreciate it. Way to get it started right off the bat, man. Yeah, because I am a little bit poor. So, anything else on? Can we just leave the pretender clown flat earthers alone for right now? We can move on. I don't see how, but
could I say something?
I'm thinking no.
Well, I just want you to know that everything I do it for you.
Look at that. Isn't that a song?
Nice.
Isn't that a song?
Yep.
Brian Adams.
Yeah, there's some strange stuff happening out there, in the old flat earth world.
Yeah.
Crazy people out there.
Yeah. And it appears, because I told you guys, I let one out of the bag. I let it float around here. It's been about a month. The showing about the lion, surrat, double speaking shits at 60. I let it out there and I said, what are you going to do, flat earthers? I don't see much being done. In fact, I see a lot of censoring it. So just the opposite of what you would expect from people trying to clean up their own house. Isn't that an interesting twist? I would have never called that one. Like I say again, there is a reckoning coming.
I think you left out the part where they formed a papacy now, and they're excommunicating people.
Are you saying, QE, that there's people out there trying to pretend it's not happening or to make up excuses for it, kind of thing?
Not even pretend it's not happening, block it from being known that it's happening.
Oh, that's worse. Pretend, yeah, that is trying to block that it's happening at all. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's happening. There's flat earthers out there saying that they can create orbits. That's what's going on. It's true, isn't it? Yeah. If
Yeah,
that's what you
that's-
accept as a flat, yeah.
Who said
If that's what you're,
What's it?
to say stuff like that.
Wow. I didn't even know that.
Somebody said
Yeah, electrostatics.
somebody said that they say that one more time.
I'll say it. I listened to it. Fitz at 60 said that he could cause things to levitate, create orbits, all with electrostatics. I put it in your thing and you didn't listen yet.
So I've been detained. I haven't listened to that. Huh, that's very interesting. What's electrostatics?
What's an orbit?
Oh, electrostatics are orbits now.
And an orbit would involve a sphere. The falling
Yeah.
of another object
Orb
around
in
a
it,
sphere.
so-
No, he said he could create orbits by using electrostatics.
Oh,
What's
you
an
could
orbit?
move
Neil?
things in circles over a magnet. Ooh. Cool. That's
Shouldn't we
not
not
an orbit.
talking sugar-free
that's not-
chewing gum?
Is that electrostatics, Arwen?
No,
That would be magnetism.
but that doesn't mean that it wouldn't actually be the example. Because I mean,
just
you
that
really
it's
think
not
it
electrostatics.
Really gets the electrostatics? I mean, they're just using phraseologies.
So electrostatics wouldn't mean electrostatics then.
It could mean whatever you want it to mean.
Ah,
It can be
gotcha.
0-point energy. It could be electrostatics. It can be magnetism. It's whatever you need it to be. or
What
it's
if I
nothing.
wanted to make it electrifa or electripa?
Well, I guess you could do that.
Wow.
The same people are also claiming, just because we're on this topic tonight, because it's the presentation, they're also claiming that GPS works, that they're excluding general relativity from the workings of GPS, right? And replacing it with ether wind. Now, I've yet to see ether being proven to exist. So I don't know how they have a wind. I think that I know there's such a thing as an ionic wind, right, where ions create the movement of air. But I don't see how that replaces Einstein from the official globe Earth version of what GPS is and how it works. I really don't. I'm not saying it.
No, they're not replacing it because Einstein, that's a good one, Einstein is a proponent of the ether. So they're not replacing it. Right?
Yeah.
While you pause on
yeah.
that thought for a second, Brian. Sorry,
Ether-
dude, I
ether
got
wind?
Oh, Wayne! I got super chats. Shout out Tony Whitcomb, £10 super chat. Use this one, not sure. Smoking the Grass Tyson got owned by Del Bigtree on the Upper Spear. Anyone seen it yet? Tyson thought he would win that debate and the same outcome of he came here. I might let that one sit with me for a little while.
Yeah, we're going to need to let that one sit, Tony. Thanks for the super chat, though. Yeah.
I wanted to ask about this ether wind because it sounds a suspicious amount like unicorn farts. Are they like stealing Nathan's unicorn fart theory and actually claiming it?
No, it's a substanceless wind.
Yeah, so is unicorn farts.
You saying there aren't unicorn farts, Arwen?
I'm not claiming non-existence. No.
Oh, you know where he was going
That's
with
an
that.
outrageous claim.
That was a good
I
one, Adam.
know.
That was a good one.
Extraordinary claim, even.
That's a good one. So can you prove that, Arwen?
Yes.
So you can prove a non-existence claim. Go ahead.
Well, there you go.
Jeez.
It doesn't exist.
I can smell him.
No, you can't smell him, but you just have to think of it being there, doing something, or else everything couldn't be the way it is. See?
Oh, you're just going
Smell
to
it.
confuse people with that. Jeez. Come on, let's get
It's all
serious.
the trend, man. It's all the trend.
Let's get serious for not right now. I don't care about trends. I'm not a trendy person. I go against trends.
I know.
Trend breaker.
That's right.
And Adam, I didn't know you wanted to be involved in this. If I knew that, you would have been involved in it. There would have been no bother. I wasn't aware of that.
I just said just a picture, QE said. Not any involvement, just a picture of me in the middle of it for no reason is what he was alluding to.
We should have put
We
one
can
in.
put that in if you want.
I think you should now at some point, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. Send me a pic. Send it to me in Skype.
Yeah, Kiwi, you add it in whenever you feel like it.
You damn sure, Skippy, I will. Adam,
There's another super chat.
we got it happening. Yeah.
I know I've got to get ready for this picture. Whilst I do that, pumping gas in a vacuum. $5 super chat, thank you. Hacks are worse than astronauts.
That's hard. That's hard to say. Astronauts.
Astronauts.
Thanks, Slumpy Gas in the Vacuum. You guys are rocking it today. My wife is gonna like this if it continues. I'll tell you that much. All right, let's see what we got. Sorry, folks, I got to go to Skype. There's nothing in there yet, by the way. That's all right. I'll go back. One second. Let me make sure. Yeah, I didn't want to exit out the whole program. That wouldn't have worked out too well. All right, what else we got? So we're not going to deal with the pretender clown, flat earth, and frauds for right now. We're just going to let you know. I'm sure you already know, or you might be one of those people that have been trying to hide them. You never know out there. You have to take a look in the mirror. It's okay, though. It's okay. For now, it's okay. But it's gonna rue the day, boy. Let me make you that promise. Okay? Because this is the third time I'm gonna say it. There's a reckoning coming.
Amen to that. It's overdue. Nonsense we have going on out there.
Well, I can't wait for it. I've been waiting a long time for this reckoning.
I just spoke of the reckoning.
With people out there going off onto tangents that aren't helpful in any way, making all kinds of crazy claims that they haven't thought out, and they're getting those claims out to as many naive people as possible. And when they're addressed on their claims, they can't support them, and they end up just in ad hom. So if that's what you're supporting, if that's what you're going for, then I can't help you. Neither can QE or anyone else. Sorry, Adam.
Can I support Brian? Yeah, another $5 super chat. Lumpy gas in a vacuum. Thank you, sir. Happy wife. Life. Thanks, all fed. Love heart. Is that?
You got that right, Lumpy Gas. Doesn't take a rocket surgeon to figure that one out.
I'm right. brain scientist. No, you don't even required, is it?
Yeah, I'm telling you. I look at Iron FE. Look at this, man. It's like a super chat frenzy.
All right, calm down. Just because it's on fire, don't nick me job. $10 super chat. Iron FE, thank you very much. No bendy water, no bendy air, no bendy time. Just bendy globe tripe. Thank you very much.
Yeah, nicely put together. Thanks, Iron FE.
Adam, there's just for everyone, but because you're doing super chats, this is a 6 section.
I've got to interrupt you again, Brian. I'm sorry about this, but the lines are electric, brother. Lumping gas in a vacuum, $5 super chat. Thank you very much, sir. Yes, reckoning, thumbs up, 100. Parachuting, fist bump, boom. Hold up. Don't anybody put in. Another 199. English Sterling super chat. Nathan Oakley 1980. Smash the super chat to support the channel. Thank you very much, Nathan. Over to you, Bryce. Sorry for that.
Yeah, just saying there's 6 sections. The first section is probably the first and maybe the third or fourth. The first section is the longest, but there'll be 6 sections. So I'll stop at the end of every section, and you can call it super chats or whatever needs to be done, or if anyone has that to say about that section. It's probably the easiest way around it. I just want you to know. Sorry, go on, Kiwi.
Yeah, when did we want to start talking about the logistics of the presentation?
Oh, whenever. I whenever it suits you. Whenever. I'm not trying to control anything or force anything.
I think
we should start a minute before you even think about it.
Yeah, that's what we should do. Let me check Skype. I still don't have anything in Skype.
Well, that's not a bad thing, because $5 super chat, Retro Bill. Nothing on the message. Thank you very much. Cheers, Retro Bill.
Retro, he didn't even say anything. He usually has something profound to say. He just didn't say anything. I think he's trying to just troll you.
Another super chat at this rate was profound in itself. So, it's Retro Bill.
Thanks a lot, Retro Bill. Appreciate it. Appreciate it, guys. Well, my wife appreciates. Tell you that much. She's been hounding me a little bit lately, too. We don't want to get into that. All right, what else we got before we get into the presentation? I know that's why everyone's here. This is going to be a very interesting presentation, and you know Brian does his research. So what we're hoping and praying for is a bit of conciseness. I think that ship left the shore and it's lost forever, but I can hope and pray. Any comment with that?
Yeah.
He did. Did he text you, Brian? Did he? Did he text you to remind you?
During the week. Yeah, he did. He's concise.
That ship done sailed, I think.
Well, there's over 80 slides to go through, and that is the chopped down version of it.
I told you. I knew it. I'm loading up the slides. I'm sitting there. Now, first he said, because I told him, I said, just do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Keep it simple, right? And he goes, oh, I get it. Like 1, 2, 3, to 100. I go, oh my God, there's going to be 100 slides.
80 is so much better.
Yeah, but I understand, because I used to make presentations back in the day professionally, and my slides would just be keys for me, right? They'd be more visual for the audience, but more keys for me. So I would go through them quickly. So I'm still holding out hope for Brian.
That sounds like a little pressure you're applying there.
Yeah, it does.
Psychological pressure.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And then I used to, hold on. Then I used to watch people, like newbies, which I call cherries, do presentations, and they'd write out the presentation. They'd write out everything. Each slide would just be text written out verbatim, word for word. And what they try to do is try to read it, right, in front of an audience. That does not work, right? Don't ever, if you're ever presenting. Now, public speaking has its own pitfalls right off the bat. But if you go and try some monkey nonsense like that, it's gonna be a train wreck of a dumpster fire. Just let me tell you that. I never do it intuitively. I knew not ever to do that, right? So once you get over the public speaking thing, because you have to engage with your audience, right? It takes time. I didn't get on it real quick. I struggled with it, in the beginning. It didn't take me long though to figure it out. You just have to get over it. But I don't know why I'm on this topic. Adam, how's the weather?
Yeah, well, I was going to say, I always find it useful to pick on someone in the audience at public speaking.
Oh, there was little tricks. You don't want to pretend like they're all in their underwear. That was spoken
I don't
about.
mean like that. I mean, engage with one person, and then whenever you're stumbling, you just engage with them. It's useful.
Now, I didn't say that you said that.
From the scary room.
I didn't say that you said that. That's one of the. I'm sure you heard that before, though, right?
I mean, I have thought about people a bit like Betty. Like that.
You're taking this too far, and I'm gonna clip that out for Betty. Shout out to Betty. She's gonna love that one. No, but you got the, but before people go into public speaking, if you ever had the opportunity for that, they would give you some possible helpful hints. And one of those was to think of everyone there being naked. You don't want to do that, was what I'm trying to say. That's one of the no-nos. Don't do that, because that's just nonsensical. Another one was, when you look into the audience, you look over their heads so you don't look into anyone's eyes, because sometimes that freaks people out. Now, I never did that. I'm just reporting what some of the tips were that were told to me that I never used. Is there any other one, since we're on this topic? We got to waste a couple more minutes to get Brian ready.
Smile. If you're doing public speaking, try to smile at people. Try to not focus too much on one person, but also not brush over anybody.
Right.
I've had to do some stuff where publicly I had to be in front of people and tell them what to do and explain stuff to them and different things. So yeah, it's kind of some people are just forget about it. They're never going to be any good at it. Other people,
Yes.
they can do it.
Yes. Before I add another one, Brian Adams.
Yeah.
Adam. Yeah. I should have heard 2 yes. Oh, Adam.
Yeah, well, I prefer to do it. Less confidence to just do it yourself in your underwear. Another super chat, lad on flat Earth, $5 super chat. Thank you, sir. Behind every great man, there is a great woman. Cheers to all.
Do you hear that, honey?
That was acceptable for all the nay haters in chat that have been ridiculing my chat reading. And a little bit cruel.
Did you hear my a bit presumptuous remark when I said, "Did you hear that, honey?" So, did you get it? So, if I'm saying that to her, making her a great woman, that would ipso facto make me a great man. See how I did that?
Yeah.
Little sleight of the hand, just trying to keep everyone on their toes out there. Me being a little presumptuous, a little pretentious, doesn't hurt.
It's either that or the milkman's in the kitchen.
I'll tell you what, you better stow that shit right now, Adam.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
It's open. It's not definitive.
Yeah, all right. Fair enough.
No, all right. £10 super chat. Tony Whitcomb. Tony was one of the critiques, so I'll take a little sip of wine first, Tony. Just clear my palate, make sure I get this right.
And stop mumbling, too.
I'm coming back to the mic once I've taken a sip.
Okay.
So, Tony Whitcomb. Globers love their chocolate. Star bars, galaxy, Mars, Milky Way, and fudge. There's fudge data for all their
Okay.
Narrative, it's supposed to say. You see, you're doing this to me on purpose, Tony. So I'm going to read it again as you wrote it. Globers love their chocolate. Star bars, galaxy, Mars, Milky Way, and fudge as fudge data their narrative. Natative.
for
Ah,
their
got me.
natative.
Yeah.
You got to
Natative
be
of a
real.
melon, Tony.
You got to be on your toes with Tony and with Super Chats, man. In reading them out, because it's some of them are riddles. They'll catch you. I've read a few of them, and I didn't catch it right off the bat, and came back later and got it.
Another $5
This is
super
gonna be
chat.
the super chat.
Owen! I'm in the middle of
Okay.
a super chat. I'll come to you, bro. I'll come to you. Shout out Retro Bill, $5 super chat. More trolling. ... Over to Arwin.
My wife, I tell you what, if I go snatch my wife up and show her this, because I don't get a whole lot of super chats. I just don't. Now, I'm not saying that's a dig on you guys. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I'm not used to a whole lot of super chats. I bring my wife in there, she's gonna shit herself. I'm telling you, just gonna the way it's gonna be. So thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate that.
Owen, you were last in before I...
Go ahead, Arwen.
It's just saying it's going to be a super chat based show this time, isn't it?
There's nothing wrong with that.
Weren't we supposed to do a presentation or something?
Oh,
But we've got 80 slides. We're going to need...
I forgot.
Super chat supersede any presentation.
We have 80 boring slides to go through, and then we'll come back to having fun.
We've got any pictures, Brian?
Oh no, I have. One of them are a picture. The rest are all text.
I'm gonna have to find that picture of me, so that at least I got that number up to.
That's what I've been waiting for. I've been pulling up Skype, and it's not there.
I'm too busy dealing with super chats. I'm a busy man.
All right, fair enough. Let me put it back up on top, and let me make sure. I did this one time. I was doing a show, and I had Skype up, and I mistakenly hit the wrong X, and I exited out of the show. So I got to be I'm really careful with this. All right. Little paranoid. Sorry about that, folks. I got issues. As far as you know.
How y'all doing?
Uh-oh. That's what I'm talking about. Mr. Attitudes. And what's up, John?
Hey, John.
Before John, sorry. John, no, John! Super chats, bro. Super chats. I'm sorry about this. Just can't help it. James Richard, $5 super chat. I want to know when and what this reckoning is. I'm all excited now. I'll let you deal with these in order afterwards, QA. But another one, Lumpy Gas in a Vacuum, another $5 super chat. Happy wife, happy life again. Back to you, John. I'll hand it to you first, mate, because super chats supersede, apparently, according to Neil. So
I would like to keep the facets and the characteristics of the reckoning to myself right now, James. But things are going to get interesting. Let me just put it to you that way. It's something to look forward to, man. So if I told you now, you wouldn't be able to look forward to it, right? So just relax. It's a coming. Okay? And happy
Just might say something.
Go ahead, Brian. I was just going to say happy. Didn't we go over happy wife, happy life before, Lumpy Gas? Did you say that before? Or was that somebody else?
that's been said, but it's worth reiterating. It is the key to a happy life.
I think he said that before. Boy, he's all over that. He's got the secret down, man. How long you been married, Lumpy Gas? You don't have to super chat that. Just put it in the chat. All right, go ahead, Brian. Sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Yeah, no. What I was going to say is, that what's happening out there, just about this reckoning and where that's coming from, is people who are claiming to be on our side. They have it in their head that we won. Now, technically, we did win. We won back in 2015. As in, we can't be beaten, but we haven't won yet. There's a huge amount of people out there who are in our opposition. So it's like they're resting on their laurels. We can go off into this tangent and that tangent and believe this thing and believe that thing. They don't help anything, only convolute and confuse matters and confuse the public. And these things are wrong, provable and proven. And they're just going to keep going with this, completely forgetting the original objective, which is to beat the opposition, who aren't beaten. We can't be beaten, but they aren't after giving up. They are not beaten. They have the whole of media and everyone else behind them. We're so far away from having won this, and we have people sitting back with their hands behind their head, drinking pina coladas, thinking they can just spew out any rubbish. We're nowhere near after winning yet, even though we already won. It's about showing that we won. That's what it's about. And this is not helping anything.
Right? They're creating false dichotomies.
I think it's...
And getting us trapped in that, trying to.
Sorry to overtalk you, Arwen. Go ahead and finish. Sorry about that.
No, I was just agreeing, and I was agreeing and saying that they're trying to trap us into taking a bite out of a false dichotomy, and that false dichotomy would then trap you there and kind of distract you away from the oversight of everything else that goes on. I mean, this is a tactic that happens even in politics. Like, you present some kind of ruckus point, and then everybody focuses on that, and then that distracts them. And now people in Flat Earth that disagree with us or however we do things here over at FED and BALLBUSTERS, now they're doing that to us.
I think it's
just
a bit
like the anti-Flat Earthers.
I think it's a bit more insidious, but that's just my opinion.
It is insidious.
Yeah, I think
you
no,
do that
not
jealousy, right?
I wasn't speaking. I wasn't speaking to your point, Arwen. I was more or less talking to what Brian said. So nothing. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm just saying that I think towards Brian's point, I think it's more insidious. It's just a gut. My gut's usually 100% correct.
I agree with that, but I just didn't want to publicly state it.
Ah, gotcha.
I just want, that I would be thinking the same
I
thing.
ain't defending it. I won't defend it no more. Like, I think there's just a strength that only comes after fire has tempered something. So I say burn the whole fucking thing down.
I told you he had an attitude, man. I knew it.
All burn.
I knew it earlier. I knew it. So he said, I'll be.
Hey, guys.
He said, John wrote a message. He goes, I have to take care of some stuff before BALLBUSTERS, but I'll be in. And I said, could you bring your attitude with you?
But what's his attitude about? What's going on?
He's on the edge.
Pyres. He's building pyres.
Yeah.
What's up, guys? I'm just coming in. What's going on?
You right now.
Me?
Yeah, since you barged in.
Oh.
Yeah, you now.
No, I'm just saying. What y'all? I mean, I caught John sound like he was a little disgruntled, and you was cheering it. But what's going on? I mean, talking about
what we found out.
Crap shit.
What we found out earlier before you arrived was that it's rude to arrive late and then ask for an update. Or
anybody taking minutes? Anybody taking minutes? And going to put them on the Discord so I can get the minutes.
It's called the chat.
Well, I'll tell you what one of the biggest problems is people would rather argue from ignorance about what they don't know than actually state a claim of what they do know, or point out when someone is making a claim and conceding the argument before they have it. No, that's annoying.
Are you talking about Dell?
No, we're not going to get into any names. And no, he's not talking about Dell. He's just providing an overall encompassing point of what's happening out there. I feel you, John. Maybe we could talk about the situation that happened later about that. But I agree with your overall sentiment.
I've got one statement and one question. Arwen, where is the moon right now? And I agree with you, John. I found myself getting less and less tolerant the bullshit that's kind of invading the forums and the discussion points. I'm finding myself that less considerably less tolerant, and I think I posted I'm at war. This is kind of how I feel a little bit. Realistically, this needs dealing with at the moment, and a clear demarcation being made. I'm not saying dealing with forever. I've got no desire to, but there seems to be a juncture here of people that have kind of agreed on a lot of stuff in the past with both parties. We don't need to mention names. Yeah, I'm kind of with you, man. I've kind of had enough. I didn't come all this way to slide backwards.
Yep. Yeah, like I said, it's a little bit more insidious than that. And make sure that it's directed towards, I don't take too much offense to newer people, but if there's veterans out there and I hear some lion sewer rat shit, look out. That's all I got to say. And like I said, there is a reckoning coming, but we can move off this point. We got to get to the presentation at some point, and I know everyone that lined up in here today out there in YouTube land wants to hear this, because this is an interesting topic to a lot of people. And if people recognize that they're a flat earther, you're going to get this comeback. Well, what about GPS? Right? You're going to get it, and you know you already probably got it if you're out there. I know I've got it plenty of times. My route with this argument is kind of succinct. And I think everyone knows where I'm going to go with this, because I like to keep things simple and just cut it right off the ankles. But Brian here is going to give you an in-depth debunking. He likes to get into the weeds and to figure stuff out. I have no problem with that. But this might be useful for many people out there. So I would pay attention. Brian, are you ready?
Yes, Kiwi, I am ready to go.
Good, I'm not. All right, yeah, I am ready. So
Are you Slide Waller again this evening?
I'm the slide man.
80 slides, man. You're gonna have to be paying attention. No slipping off for drinks, nothing.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that a bummer? But we're going to stop and take a break every once in a while. Brian, all you need to do is say next. Okay?
Okay.
That's all you need to do, because they're all lined up. We're all ready to go. Are you ready, sir?
I am. I'm ready to go, yeah.
Your first slide is on.
Okay. Thank you.
Hold up. Sorry about that. Do you guys want to see? I'm sorry, guys. That was prematurely ejaculated. I need to go into Discord because I want these guys to be able to follow this too live. So there's no confusion.
There is a watch stream there already. There's a watch stream there on my Discord anyway.
Yeah, let me put it here in Discord for people that are in here. Hopefully this works. Okay, sorry about that, guys out there in YouTube land. We're gonna get this. We're gonna get this squared away right now. Brian, your first slide is up, sir. Sorry for the interruption.
No worries. Okay, thank you. Thanks for having me on to do this presentation. Okay, the first section of this presentation, the presentation is called How GPS Actually Works. Section 1 of this is on surveying OS mapping, which is ordinate survey mapping, and coordinates. This first section is harking back to presentations I did on surveying 4 or 5 years ago, where I brought in the coordinates that they use, and also I brought GPS into it back then as well, and pointed out things concerning the coordinates that they use, that GPS uses. That means that they can't be referring, GPS can't be and isn't referring to a spherical Earth. Now, I'm not saying mathematically, so this is what I'm going to, this is the whole point of the presentation. I'm going to, the main argument that we get concerning GPS is that, GPS only works on a globe because it's purely global in what they give you. It's a globe, and there's satellites that orbit this globe in a vacuum of space, blah, blah, blah. But I'm going to show here, I'm going to give a case for both towards the end. I'm going to show here how there's big problems with it working on a globe, even as they say how it works. So even if we were on a globe, how they say it works wouldn't work. That's the point, right? But I'm going to show how it actually works and how that supports flat more than globe. Okay, so I'm not going to give too much away at the start. Okay, why I'm starting with surveying is this. When I read up on surveying years ago, on more than one official source stated that GPS was first used in surveying in 1994. And I know for a fact that GPS was first used in Ireland by surveying in 1993 into 94. And how I know that is my mother's partner is a retired geodetic surveyor. Now, he's an older man, and so he retired back in 93 into early 94. I think it was actually late 93. But he was telling me about the younger surveyors that were working with him at that time who were using GPS, right, for surveying back then, right? And they had the receivers, and that was coming into it back then. So I know for definite that if that was being used in Ireland in surveying back in 1993, or being brought in 1993, then that means it was definitely being used in the United States, Britain, elsewhere, right? Because if it's being used in Ireland, it's definitely started in the US or somewhere else, because GPS started in the US. That's what they say. Now, I read that GPS was given to the public in 1995, released to the public by the US military in 1995. Now, I'm not denying that the US military had the use of GPS maybe before surveyors had it, but the evidence mounts more towards surveying being the originators of GPS, or at least they were using it prior to it supposedly being released to the world. Because how can it be released to the world, like a big secret came out in 1995 kind of thing, when it was being used in Ireland in 1993 by surveyors? See, surveying is directly connected to GPS, and that's what I'm going to go through in this first section. And how, well, basically, GPS wouldn't exist without two things. One, celestial navigation. Two, surveying. Other than that, there wouldn't be GPS. So, okay, next
Right,
slide.
before you start,
Yeah.
right, just because
Yeah.
only because it's $20 super chat from James May. So there's good day to the panel. Thank you, James.
Hey, thanks for coming, James. James is a busy man. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Otherwise, it will slide by. It came literally as you were just starting. Now, I've just thought 7 minutes for the first slide. 7 times 80.
Don't worry about it.
I'm not any revenue. I'll shut up.
I was thinking the same exact thing. I said, okay, 8 minutes for the first slide. We're going to get out of here in late 2027.
No, it's just I must stress this point concerning surveying, because if more people had paid attention to my presentations on surveying some years ago, then this part wouldn't be. It's not for the basic panel members; it's for the general public out there. At the time, they didn't pay attention to it. I did it on a couple of different channels, and people were more busy with arguing in the chat with George Netchuk and Blue Marble Science and Rumpus and whoever else, instead of paying attention to it. That was what was wrong. Okay, so that's not an indictment on the people listening now. I'm just saying at the time that's what happened.
That's 12. That's 12 minutes on the first slide, so it's late 2029.
Okay. Right. Slide 2, please. Or next slide. Okay. Primary divisions of surveying. Plane surveying. Type of surveying in which Earth's surface is considered as a plane and the curvature of the Earth is ignored. In such surveying, the line joining any two stations is considered to be straight. Geodetic surveying. Type of surveying in which the curvature of the Earth is taken into consideration. The line joining any two stations is considered as curved line. Next slide, please. This is an XYZ Cartesian system. This is a three-dimensional XYZ Cartesian system. This is a representation of that. It's basically a cube. Think of it as a cube. Sometimes it's a rectangle, but think of it as a cube. Okay, next slide, please. Cartesian reference system. I have some slides, so I have to do a little bit of reading, but like only maybe 3 or 4.
Yeah, that's fine. You're good.
It is important to realize that the center of a Cartesian reference system for an adopted ellipsoid may not be the true or adopted center of mass of the Earth. The latter is often used for global reference systems as used by the Global Positioning System, GPS. Furthermore, the direction of the Z-axis may differ. This has led to one of the major requirements of geodesy and surveying today, which is how to relate global to local referencing systems so that positions in one may be expressed in terms of the other, and vice versa. This issue is not dealt with here, except to state that it is necessary to move from the ellipsoidal system to the local Cartesian reference system before applying some translations in X, Y, Z, and possibly scale, change, and rotations around these axes as well, to move from the local system to global. The Cartesian reference system is particularly useful as calculations are simpler to perform, no knowledge of spherical geometry being required. However, the relationship between positions on the Earth's surface are different to visualize in this system, and this is particularly important in navigation. For instance, the concept of height is also unclear. What they're talking about here is they want to normally try and use spherical coordinates from the center point of a globe, right, out to points on the surface of Earth. But when they're dealing with reality, then they must use a horizontal plane. So basically what they're admitting here, without indicting them for being liars, I'm just saying they're admitting here that the system of spherical coordinates from a center point to points on the surface of a globe doesn't work in reality when we're actually surveying, when we're actually doing stuff, because we're dealing with a horizontal plane and elevations above and below that. So for that reason, they need to use XYZ on the surface of the Earth.
So what you're saying is the spheretard is a dangling participle?
Yes, it gets in the way. They can't use it. And as well as that, they claim it's an ellipsoid, which it's geometrically not.
Right.
Geometrically, it's not an ellipsoid, but they must claim it is.
So,
but because of the ellipsoid, go on. Yeah.
So the spheretard is surplus to requirements, in other words.
Yeah, it's something they must add in afterwards mathematically.
Yep.
It doesn't actually have any reference to reality.
Yep.
But they don't really realize that's what they're saying. Next slide, please. Okay, local tangent plane coordinates. Local tangent plane coordinates, LTP, sometimes named local vertical, local horizontal coordinates, are a geographical coordinate system based on the local vertical direction and the Earth's axes of rotation. It consists of 3 coordinates. One represents the position along the northern axis, one along the local eastern axis, and one represents the vertical position. 2 right-handed variants exist: east, north, up, ENU coordinates, and north, east, down, NED coordinates. They serve for representing state vectors that are commonly used in aviation and marine cybernetics. Okay, the next part here is axes. What that's talking about is the conversion from the Universal Transverse Mercator map, which is a grid, which is a grid, but that grid is made out of the all those lines all convert back to latitude and longitude. So that's not, we don't need to go into that. I just want to read what ENU coordinates and NED coordinates are and give an explanation on it. Local east, north, up, ENU coordinates. In many targeting and tracking applications, the local east, north, up, ENU Cartesian coordinate system is far more intuitive and practical than ECEF. ECEF is the spherical coordinates where I just mentioned a minute ago, or geodetic coordinates. That would be latitude, longitude. The local ENU coordinates are formed from a plane tangent to the Earth's surface, fixed to a specific location, and hence it is sometimes known as a local tangent or local geodetic plane. By convention, the east axis is labeled label X, and the north Y, and up Z, so X, Y, Z. Local north, east, down, NED coordinates. In an airplane, most objects of interest are below the aircraft, so it is sensible to define down as a positive number. The north, east, down, NED coordinates allow this as an alternative to ENU by convention. The north axis is labeled X, the east Y, and the down Z. To avoid confusion between X and Y, etc., in this article, we will restrict the local coordinates frame to ENU. So, to explain why that's important, when they're saying that the XYZ is more practical and intuitive than ECEF, is out-centered, out-fixed, is spherical coordinates using an XYZ system from the center of a globe Earth of radius 3959 miles. The ENU coordinates is what mostly you will see, but if you're flying in an aircraft, you will be using NED. So east, north, up means that you read positive east, negative west, positive north, negative south, and positive up, negative down, right? For that coordinate. Up and down are elevations above or below sea level, right? Using ENU, right? That's what up and down is. Local northeast down, just 1 second, let me get this NED coordinates, northeast up. So that's read north first, positive, right? South negative, east positive, west negative, and down positive, up negative, because that's used with aircraft. So if I put in parentheses, let's just say for ENU, if I say let's say if I put in -2 plus 4 plus 4, right? That would be -2 west plus 4 north and plus 4 up for ENU. If I was to do NED, I would say, let's just say if I did the same things, it would be -2 would be 2 south, right, plus 4 east, and then plus 4 down, because they don't want someone in an airplane using coordinates that are based off of a ground, so because that would confuse matters and maybe even cause problems in the air. So go on, Adam, you had something to say.
It's just a point of question because I'm learning it. And why are you saying the way in which they plot these coordinates on the surface with the ellipsoid model is not to use the surface, it's to use the center of, to take them to hell as the point of reference, and everything's from there, locate them, as opposed to like you would on a Cartesian grid, just use the grid?
Yeah, well, what they're doing is they're putting an XYZ at the center of a globe Earth, and that's called ECEF, or Earth-centered, Earth-fixed. And they'll that's what
I'm saying. It comes
afterwards.
Yeah, so the flat grid that they use goes to the center of the ball, and then you plot the surface points on the ball as if they're your points on your flat surface that you've taken the measurement from in the first place. Is that what it's converting?
Yeah, it's like the zenith in the center of your Cartesian system will be pre-assumed afterwards mathematically to be diverging from all other zeniths in all other Cartesian systems and meeting at a central point. But that can't happen if you're going to use XYZ Cartesian, or even just XY, by XYZ Cartesian coordinates. You can't do that because all the zeniths, all the verticals must be parallel, because you're dealing with squares and cubes, squares in 2 dimensions and cubed in 3 dimensions. So all those must. I'm going to go into it as we go on.
No, I didn't want to go further than that. I know where you're going. But I was just that point of principle where they're taking things from. So yeah, and that's cool then to make the statement diverging zeniths is fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, should I even say it within this reference here, because they call it a local tangent or local geodetic plane. So in their mind, they're creating a big, huge tangent plane to do all this on, but really they're standing on a globe. So in their mind, they're doing everything on a tangent plane. That's how they try and explain it. And that tangent has to be tangent to a circle or a sphere. So that's what they're trying to. That's what they need to say to make themselves believe that they're going to then put everything onto a sphere later on and everything's fine when it's not. Do you know what I mean? The sphere part doesn't exist. But anyway, that's what they do. They beg the question is the easiest way around it. So next slide, please, Kiwi. Okay, this is a basic XY grid. There's no Z in this because it's only two-dimensional. Earlier on, I showed the XYZ one, and I'll show more of them. But this is just basic. So this would be +3 in parentheses and +4. That will give you that point that you see on the screen. So you'd have 3 across to the east, and then 4 up north. So that would give you that point there. Now, if you go on to the next slide, please, Kiwi. This is what's known as polar coordinates, right? Polar coordinates are latitude and longitude grid, right? That's the latitude and longitude grid, right? That's why they're able to switch. That's why the universal transverse Mercator map exists, because they're able to turn this into a Cartesian grid. But the universal transverse Mercator is a bit dodgy. I won't go into all the details now because it goes into celestial navigation and that. But and how to use it is a little bit dodgy. But the point is that polar coordinates are two-dimensional flat plane coordinates. Now, they often won't call the latitude and longitude grid a polar coordinate system because then they're admitting it's a flat plane. But that's where it comes from. It's a polar coordinates. And polar coordinates in 2 dimensions and XY coordinates in 2 dimensions work perfectly together. Because you can, as they're shown here, you could go across +3 and up +4 like in the previous slide, and you'll get a point on this grid that will match that grid. So that's how it works. So it basically, they work together. Now, obviously, there's no third dimension with latitude and longitude, because latitude and longitude is from celestials. So all you're getting is 2 dimensions. You're getting a 2-dimensional coordinate. You won't get an elevation. So in Google Earth, for instance, you'll get your latitude and longitude, and if you're looking at the bottom, they will say a height above ellipsoid. But ellipsoid is mean sea level. So when the surveying say height above ellipsoid, what they're actually saying is your elevation above or below mean sea level. So they're giving you your latitude and longitude, which is a point on a flat polar plane, a coordinate system, and then giving you your elevation. But that's only because they know the elevation, because they mapped everything out in X, Y, Z coordinates that they've then translated to polar latitude, longitude, and then they have the elevation that they know is there at that coordinate, so they can give in Google Earth, they can say whatever your elevation is above or below mean sea level. That's what they're doing. Next slide, please, Kiwi. Okay, this slide just shows just kind of a comparison. This doesn't show the whole world, just the northern part of the world, but it shows basically how you have both grids working together here, just as an example. So there's both grids working here. You have the polar underneath the Cartesian. Next slide, please, Kiwi. Okay, Cartesian coordinates are like Russian dolls. You know, when you open up one doll and there's a smaller doll inside, and then there's a smaller doll inside that, and a smaller one, and a smaller one, and you end up with a tiny doll when you started off with a really big one. It's like that. So on this grid, you have all these. This is Florida, I think. Now this is a nautical. I think this is nautical. This grid, but nautical use Cartesian as well. But here you can see I've colored in where I've taken 4 of these squares that they have here, or rectangles that they're using here, and I made one bigger one out of it. But I can also take one of these and make 4 smaller ones out of it. So that's how it works with the grid, with grid references, where because it's squares or cubes, that you can make them as big or as small as you need to make them. So any of this on this grid, you could take 4 of the big one here that I colored in and make a bigger one out of it, if you understand what I mean. So that's how it all works. But what's important to note, the most important part is every corner, side, and every corner, side, angle, right angle corner here, everything has to go together. So this can't work over a curved surface because you will have distortions. So no matter where you go, each square or rectangle on this grid must equal in an exact size and dimensions to every other one. That's how that system works, right? So each one of these must match every other one. So if you're mapping the whole world out like this, let's just say if you were to do it from a North Polar point to start there, which they have done. It's called Grid North, right? They've done a version of it, whether it's the whole world, but they've done a version of it, and it's used by aerospace. Grid North. So basically, every part of this must every square rectangle must match in dimensions to every other one. Otherwise, it doesn't work, because you can't have diverging sizes. In reality, it doesn't work. You can't use it. And GPS, this is the coordinate system that GPS uses. It uses X, Y, Z, and it'll then convert to latitude and longitude and give you your elevation if it needs to. But it uses your X, Y, and Z. That's what. And the reason it uses X, Y, Z is going to become apparent pretty soon. So if you just go on to the next one, please, Kiwi, next slide. This is an example of the type of things that you will get within GPS on your phone and whatever else. These are flat plane coordinates where they're showing elevations and that of different areas. This is a kind of a digital layout. It's called a GIS, but it's this type of thing you will get in your phone. The main point about surveying here is that all the mapping, right, all the elevations, everything that is in GPS was all already mapped out and known before the creation of GPS. Now, my mother's partner told me even this when I talked to him. He said, yeah, everything, the whole world was already mapped out, right? And every elevation known, right? Maybe not parts of the Congo or really northern Canada, but they knew all the surroundings, let's just say. So they basically had 99% of the whole world already mapped out before GPS turned up. They surveyed absolutely everywhere, right? That in the known world. So, and it's those mapping, all those maps, those ordnance survey maps that are used, were translated over into GPS and are used by GPS, and they use the same coordinates those maps were made in, which is X, Y, and Z. The same ones. Now they will also use polar, but it's primarily X, Y, Z. And even Jesse Kozlowski, who is that geodetic surveyor on our opposing side who disappeared some years ago, that guy, even I have audio on my channel of him stating that the raw coordinates that come out of a GPS unit are X, Y, Z Cartesian and not latitude, longitude. So even he has to even admit that the coordinates are X, Y, Z coordinates. From the raw coordinates that come straight out of a GPS unit are X, Y, Z. And this is the digital layout that they create to go into that's installed into your phone and into GPS's units and whatever else. So I'll just move on, so not to spend too much time on it, but just that's the point. Next slide, please, Kiwi. Okay, this is basically what they would be trying to use from a center point of a globe, where you have a situation where they have this mean equatorial plane. Now, what they really mean by mean equatorial plane is the equatorial plane at equator. At equinox. That's the equatorial plane at equinox, which means they can which extends out into the celestial plane, let's just say. So basically, they can make that as big as they need to make it, right? But the whole point here is that they're using azimuth, altitude. So it's alt-az. They're using an azimuth first and an altitude. This is their claim when it comes to satellites. They're using the alt-az system. So when they are getting an angle to a satellite, right, like they would say with the unit, they're using alt-az, which is, and the name of that system is the horizontal coordinate system. That's the name of it. So they're using the horizontal coordinate system, which is because XYZ has to be a horizontal coordinate system. It has to have XY is a horizontal plane.
Yep.
So and the Z, yeah. So they have to. So they're using the horizontal coordinate system with GPS. GPS as well, something I said back some years ago in my presentations. GPS, they say, stands for Global Positioning System, whereas technically it really stands for Geodetic Positioning System because it comes from geodetic surveying. That's basically where it comes from. So to call it GPS and to call it the Global Positioning System, it's kind of not correct, because GPS would be much more fitting if they called it Geodetic Positioning System, because that's where they wouldn't exist without the surveying element.
Ryan,
Okay.
wasn't it originally called Ground Positioning System before they
Yeah.
officially named it Global Positioning System?
I think it was Arwen, actually. Glad you reminded me. I remember reading about that before. Now, I haven't seen that recently, so I can't say for definite, but I think it was. I think you're right. And they had other names on it
In the
before
90s.
that as well.
It was in
Yeah,
the
they had some other names. Before they decided on GPS being Global Positioning System, they had other names on it. And when I read it, I was like, no, this is Geodetic Positioning System. Makes more sense. But either way, it doesn't matter what they call it at this stage.
Isn't
Yep.
this over as soon as you mention if GPS uses Cartesian coordinate system? Isn't the jig up?
That's what I
It is.
thought.
That was my point. That was my point in my presentations back in on surveying back years ago. But it just wasn't taken. People didn't take it and run with it. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yes.
sometimes it's too simple. Like everything else that's simple, all the simple proofs are the best. And it's so simple that people just look past it. As I said, the whole chat were too busy arguing with George Netjuk and Blue Marble Science and Rumpus and everyone else at the time to pay attention to what was going on in the presentations.
You
know
know,
what I mean?
I like those simple things. You're speaking my love language.
Yeah, exactly. Well, all you need
Me
is
too.
XYZ. They're using, and I'm going to show more here. Obviously, I have a lot of slides where they're using the horizontal Cartesian system, the horizontal coordinate system.
Yep.
So, okay, we'll go on to the next one, please, QE. Next slide. Okay, geographic versus projected. Geographic coordinate systems, GCS, location measured from curved surface of the Earth, measurement units, latitude and longitude. So they're trying to hijack the latitude and longitude grid because they have to, because that's where their globe comes from. Degrees in minutes, seconds, decimal degrees, or radians, right? So that's the way they will give them to you. Projected coordinate systems, PCS, flat surface, units can be in meters, feet, inches. Distortions will occur except for very fine scale maps. So see the way they must put in that part at the end, distortions will occur. They'll only occur when you're trying to force something to go back onto to go onto a spherical surface that it wasn't measured on. So yeah, you will have distortions because you're trying to make it.
Say
You know what I
that.
mean?
Hold on. Say that was priceless. Say that one more time.
Yeah, you're going to have distortions if you're trying to force something onto a curved surface that wasn't measured on a curved surface. It was measured on a flat plane. So yeah, you'll have distortions. Do you know what I mean? So that's what they try and say. They say every map is distorted. It's only distorted because the maps they try and give you, they're starting off for trying to put that map on a globe, then flatten it out, then use real world measurements, and then distort those measurements when they put them back onto their maps, and then redistort them again, or distort them a second time to get them back onto a globe. Just like in celestial navigation, all the measurements are on a horizontal plane, but then they put them onto the Universal Transverse Mercator map, which distorts them, and then they redistort them again with the Haversine formula. And then they're saying all maps are distorted because maps are on the globe. Do you know what I mean? It's a no-brainer, like, isn't it? But that's what they do. This is unfortunately what they do. They do this to themselves. But yeah, technically, like, if I didn't have other information that was really important to give here, I could basically end it here because this kind of like says it all, doesn't it?
Yep.
Right? But because there's more to give, I'm not going to end it here, obviously. But I could just go, that's the end of that. You know. You're not going to think.
Yes.
Give it.
I like the way, Brian, you hit on the point as you were saying there, that what they throw at us. Yeah, of course the maps aren't accurate because it's taken from a curved surface. It's a proper switcheroo, actually, the excuse we're given. As
They pulled
described,
a 360 on us.
Yeah. Well, it's like wallpaper in my house. It's an old house. The walls aren't flat, but the paper pattern is. When you try to stick it on to wobbly walls, you get a mismatch of the pattern that
Exactly.
you've taken.
Yes.
Exactly, and that's why Cartesian coordinates don't work on a spherical surface, because they can't. Because the XY plane is a plane; it must be a plane. So when ballers say XYZ is global coordinates, they don't understand. No, the XYZ from their center point coming to the surface is not Cartesian. That is spherical coordinates. They don't even know, most of them, what the difference is between Cartesian and spherical. Because they just look at the diagram, it says XYZ from a center, and they go, see, globe. Because they don't learn. They just are told things and believe them, and then argue with us when we show them the problems. But anyway, what can you do?
Just one point from the beginning there, just a quick question. When you're taking, as a surveyor, any of these measurements, what type of measurements do you take? Do you take them from a flat surface, or are your measurements referenced from the center of a ball?
No, you're referencing everything, and like, I mean, this is something that Bev has pointed out over and over and over. Like the tools used by what they call planar surveyors and geodetic surveyors are the same exact tools. You're either doing elevations, which is horizontal distances between parallel verticals. That's elevations, what's known as rise over run, or you're using theodolites, which is vertical and azimuth angles. So how is any of that going to work on a curve? How is any of that going to work? They have to do everything in reality using a horizontal plane, basically using a horizontal plane and elevation as mean sea level as your basic horizontal plane, and all elevations above them, vertical. Basic elevations are vertical elevations above or below that point, below that plane, and they're using angles then with theodolites to work out distances between two mountains if you're doing geodetic. That's the only difference. Geodetic surveyors are doing the exact same thing as planar surveyors. They're up on a mountain looking at it, using angles to get a distance, a somewhat correct distance between two mountains in the distance. With an azimuth angle or a height of a mountain based off of a vertical angle, using angular size measurement. That's what they're doing. Even my mother's friend, my mother's partner, even I went through it with him because he's an old-time surveyor where he did everything on pen and paper. He didn't even have calculators. Everything he did, he had to do in his head. Do you know what I mean? Because all this stuff came in as he was retiring. So, but yeah, everything is done on the surface using horizontal, vertical, and angles. That's all they do. Now, they have other systems that they use when it comes to total stations. Total stations will do distance measurements based off, kind of like, those things you can get where you can get it uses triangulation, where it sends out let's say a beam to a wall.
Like a rangefinder.
Rangefinder, yes. They're using rangefinder.
Yes. I got one right here.
Yeah, range-finding. That's what they're doing, range-finding. Yeah, using the two-way speed light calculation. That's what they're doing. But they're using triangulation with that, and that's how they do it. So with the more up-to-date total stations, they'll do more than that. They actually map out. They literally, when you turn them in a 360, they literally map out what you're looking at on a screen for you. They're worth a lot of money, but that's what they're at now, because they're using GPS all the time. They don't need to do everything's already measured, if you know what I mean. So a lot of the stuff they're doing is only kind of like going over what they've done before, or for digital reasons and different things like that, if you know what I mean. But anyway, look, we'll move on because we could get into that conversation. Okay, next slide, please, Kiwi.
Yep.
Okay, here you have a situation where they're using, like, they're trying to show a globe, but basically they're using a XYZ system from a center point of the globe, but really they're using the elevation and azimuth. That's what they're using. Basically, if you could picture somebody at the center point of that, with a GPS receiver, and they're getting an angle to something, whatever the thing, we call it, I don't care, call it a satellite, whatever, high altitude balloon, whatever they're getting the signal from, and then straight down underneath that will be the sub point, what they call a sub point. So in celestial navigation, a celestial body has a GP point. For something like an airplane or a satellite or balloon, it's going to be what's known as a sub point. So that's what that is. So that is basically they're working out through angles. how it happens. So none of this is happening on a spherical surface. GPS unit is, it can't. I'll show in a while why it can't do this on a spherical surface. Okay, next slide, please, Kiwi. Okay, there is a word here in both of them called relatated, and I don't know if it's a typo or if it's actually a word used within surveying, but it might be a typo used within surveying, because I don't know. I'm not used to that word, but I'll throw it in there anyway. Surveying is the art of determining the relative positions of different objects on the surface of the Earth by measuring the horizontal distance between them. It is related only in horizontal plane. I don't know if they mean related or related. Right, leveling is out of determining the relative vertical distances of different points on the surface of the Earth. It is related only or related only in vertical plane. So we're talking about a horizontal and vertical plane. That's it. So next slide, please, Kiwi.
I never heard. One second.
Yeah.
Adam, have you heard that term before? Not to get bogged down with it, but I've never seen that term before in my life.
Oh, it's not returning anything on the dictionary. I was just doing that there. I think it is related only in the vertical plane. It is related only in the horizontal.
Right. Yeah, it's a
It can only be that.
Yep. Okay, there you go, Brian.
Tit for tat.
Yeah, it's just a typo or whatever.
Yep.
Okay, here is I think one of my favorite slides ever, because this was the one I used back in 4 or 5 years ago, whenever it was I did the presentations. Here you can see what's actually happening. That green square on the surface of this sphere is actually down at the center, is really what's going on. But they're trying to give the impression that this up here, which is the zenith, is going to a central point of a globe, right? But the problem is that's just one Cartesian system. The one that's be directly below it, above it, to each side of it, and meeting it at each corner there, cannot be on a globe. It's not a disco ball. It can't work, right? As I showed earlier, all of these Cartesian systems must fit end to end, edge to edge, corner to corner, and they all must be exactly the same in dimension. So that's why what they're showing here gives the game away. You don't need, if you understand it, you don't need anything else, because all you have to do is take this square and put it down at the center point there and ignore this circle completely. Because that's basically what they're trying to do. They're basically, in some ways, they're partly hijacking the celestial dome model up to a point, because they're using the horizontal an azimuth coordinate system. But that says it all right there. So if we just go on to the next slide, please. So this is a very basic, just to show. All those squares have to be the same size. If they were cubes, they have to be the same size, the same dimensions. So H4 will bring you to there. That won't work on a globe, right? If you make this bigger, it won't work. And that's why they try and say, oh, it works for local level, right? But what's local level? 100 square miles or whatever? I mean, what's local level? I mean, you can't ignore curvature. If it's there, you couldn't ignore it. You certainly couldn't ignore it in an XYZ system. It can't be ignored. You can't have diverging zeniths with an XYZ. The Z can't diverge from the other zeniths. And you can't have squares being different sizes and at different dimensions, or rectangles being different sizes or dimensions. You can go into Google Earth now and zoom in and you'll see they're not all different dimensions. They're all the same size because they have to be. Otherwise, it doesn't work. That's the point. And that's how they actually measure in reality. They use that system in reality to measure. And that is the system used by GPS, because it's the one that works. Now, obviously, latitude and longitude work as well, but not if you're trying to convert it back onto a sphere. Then you're going to have distortions, because spheres distort, real measurements. Just like in celestial navigation. Yeah, isn't it? Just like in celestial navigation, you have to measure it on the horizontal surface of Earth and then bring it to the center of their globe at equinox, the equatorial plane at equinox, and then hijack the celestial dome model to measure an arc length. Sorry,
you can't have an equal grid size on a globe, basically.
No, you can't. Can't be done. That was one of my main points back a couple of years ago. But as I said, things like with a lot of things, people just don't pay attention when they should pay attention. Anyway, moving on to the next one, if you don't mind, Kiwi. Here is the Emerald Loyal. This happened to show up. I said I'd take it. Here is Ireland in a grid map, right? And just so you know, funnily enough, Ireland was the most surveyed country back in the 1700s. It was the first country ever to be totally surveyed, because the British came in here and surveyed the hell out of it, because they had reason for it. They were, at the time, they were taking different minerals and trees and whatever else they were doing here.
Bloody English.
Yeah, Adam and Megan and that Nate and Oakley. But yeah, it was.
I'd like to take personal responsibility for that. You know,
you would, yeah.
Maybe reparations are due, Brian.
Yeah, maybe some reparations are due. But yeah, I just thought it was because my mother's partner. Now I don't go into the whole flat globe thing with him. I don't do that. I just talk to him about surveying because he's an older guy and it wouldn't be a good conversation. But he said he can get me maps and shows how Ireland was the most surveyed country. I think the first country ever to be totally surveyed, where they knew every single part of it, kind of thing. Because it's only a small place. Anyway, Ireland is only a small little island. But yeah, that's Ireland anyway. On to the next one, please. So here is Thailand in a grid map. So this is Thailand laid out in the grid map. As you can see, each one of those squares are all exactly the same size. So if you treat them as XYs, you can make any one of those squares into 4 smaller squares, any one of those squares into 4 smaller ones again, any one of those into 4 smaller ones, infinitum. So basically, this is how it works. This can't work on a globe. Ireland is small, and it wouldn't work on a globe if they tried to use XYZ on a curved surface. So I guarantee you, Thailand, which is not a big country, but it's a lot bigger than Ireland, certainly wouldn't work. Right. So there you go. How could this exist and we live on a globe? You know, if that it just doesn't work. On to the next one, please, Kiwi. So this is I think this is Florida, and this is just an example. I think this is a nautical chart, but just to show that here you have again same situation where you don't have divergence in the squares. This is just as a representation of this type of mapping. On to the next one, please, Kiwi. I had to add in America because QE is American and there's so many Americans here and people from the North America. So here you have similar thing where they're using a grid map across America. Now a lot of the time when they're showing these grid maps, they're kind of relating back to the Universal Transverse Mercator map, which is a conversion from latitude longitude. But it doesn't matter; it's just a representation. On to the next one, please. Now, here is when it gets tricky. As you can see, they're trying to make it look curved with this one, right? This is the problem, right? This won't work. They try to make them look curved, some of these maps. They won't work if they're trying to curve them. What they do is they try to curve them left to right without curving them north to south as much. But you can still see there's divergence going on here, or they're trying to give the impression due to angle of divergence. But this wouldn't work. In reality, there's no way this map would work as a grid map. As all these lines would have to correspond to latitude, longitude from a center point. They couldn't work as a grid map unless, what I mean is that because there's divergence going on here, or they're trying to give the impression of divergence, which is basically what it is. It's a visual. I think this actually, most of this is just like a visual effect they're trying to give you, that of a globe, when really it should just be a flat. They should just show it flat like it really is. So how it's really mapped out, it's flat. It's not mapped out on a curve or as a curved surface. I just wanted to throw that in just to show it because people can see these things. You can see that towards the bottom, there's one of the lines is curving. Well, that means it's a line of latitude then, because the grid maps don't have curving lines. Do you know what I mean? So they're kind of messing about with you with a map like this. Next one, please, QE. Here is I think that's Tampa Bay, but part of Florida. This is somewhat messy, but it still shows that the amount of grid reference that goes on here. Now, you can't have any of that on a globe. It's not going to work. You're going to have too many distortions. I mean, around that area is not a small area. So in no time flat, 2-3 miles later, you're going to start having distortions because you're talking about, like, curvature is going to come into it if you're dealing with curvature. Next one, please, Kiwi. This is, I'm not going to go into too much of how because it's not important on how surveying use GPS, but basically they start off with a base station and with a known coordinates, and they're using rovers and moving away from that, and they can be up to big distances. Once they can get, if they're using microwave signals, their distances can be pretty big once they can get the signal to the base station. But basically, if you go on to the next one, QE, it's basically a way of triangulating. They're just triangulating. So they're going to throw in all these satellites up above, but I'm going to go through it in the next section. We'll go into more of what GPS is and the different types of GPS. And it'll be like they always have to throw these satellites in up above here. I'm not saying there isn't anything in the sky that doesn't, I would definitely claim high altitude balloons could help and other things. But the point is that it doesn't matter what's up there. The point is that it's mapping out a flat plane at all times. It's referencing a flat plane at all times. So just the last slide in this section, please, QB. Here is a portion of Coventry, some part of Coventry in England, I think. And this is a grid map where they are basically, this is on a smaller scale grid map. And this is how, if you were working in surveying, you'd be getting OS mapping, Ordnance Survey mapping. And it's these maps and with elevations and other things in it. Obviously, as I showed earlier, that's what goes into GPS units. That's what they have. They have those. Now, if they know the coordinates on the grid, they also know on the Cartesian grid, they also know the coordinates in latitude and longitude, right? But they are the coordinates that they're using all the time. They're always, GPS is constantly referring to Cartesian and Cartesian only. Afterwards, the comparison will happen to latitude and longitude. Okay, I'm finished that section.
Just to say, perfect time for a super chat break. Right. Tony Whitcomb. Geodetics don't go to the centre of Earth for their measurements if they want the globe lie to exist. That's their problem. They have to go to try and make it a globe that way. That's the point I was trying to allude to earlier, Tony.
Yeah, that's true. But the Cartesian system, as soon as you say Cartesian, it is OVERR. It's as simple as that. It's
I'll be back
over.
in one moment.
Go ahead.
I'm just saying I'll be back in one moment.
Oh, okay. Yep.
What slide are we on?
Just you, never mind.
Like 23 or something.
Don't you be guessing either.
Cat, what slide number do you think we're on?
I know what slide we're on.
I know you do.
I'm just looked at it.
Curious as a straw poll. I'm going to see if it works. Like when you have to guess the number of gobstoppers. If chat can just randomly guess, should get
Focus on the super chats.
33.
So that's
33. Listen at you.
Feeding Masons are in.
I get this darn orange. I had my wife go ahead. Hold up. I had this darn orange because I tried to sneak out because I'm getting a mite peckish. So I hollered in, get an orange, right? And as soon as I got up and turned the corner to holler in there, Brian's there, next slide. I'm there, son of a... I tried to get back, right? I'm tripping over stuff. And now, just finished up because it's really important. I'm trying to get the orange off the skin, and that sucker's squirting the heck out of me. All right, go ahead.
Buddy.
I was just going to say,
no, go on, John. Go on.
I thought it might have been. I was going to say, Brian's doing the presentation. I think I could do one on orbital mechanics.
Hey, John.
Transform and roll out.
Okay.
Hey, John, stop.
Transformers.
Hey, that's not helping. John, go ahead and pop out and come back in again. You're roboting.
While he's doing that, read the super chat.
Antsy
Why
boy.
is everybody trying to take Adam's job?
They think they can do it. They think they can wander in here. Just do it just off the bat like this seasoned pro right now. What I was going to do, I was just say, channel member, shout out original D-Rose, $4.99. I mean, Why not $5, you cheap bastard? Anyway, I truly appreciate this elaborate, articulated lesson, Brian, no matter how long it's taken. And I was going to say, yeah, thanks for that, D-Rose. That was a good filler. But now you can screw it. You had to do my bloody job.
Hey, gas is high here. Gas
I'm
is
ready,
high here.
bro. I only vested, bro. Thank you, original D-Rose, for your $4.99.
You cheap bastard.
All right, that's okay.
I'm back.
Why did you save that 1 cent? That's what I'm asking. Why did you feel the need to say? Is it the Scottish in you?
No. That's all it does. It goes $1.99, $4.99, $9.99. It does 99.
Sure, it does.
Yeah, even the ones I send to Nathan, they all have this 99 cent, like it's gas. Like I'm getting gas in my car.
Shout out James Mays, US, $20 round, double zeros after that decimal. Good day to the panel.
Adam, you're funny today, boy. How many glasses have you had?
It's not the point. It's a citation from the chat. About 6.
Hopefully it's the good stuff.
I still can't tell.
I'm ready to go if you want to move on with the next because.
I got a handful orange, man.
Okay, I'll wait. I'm easy.
It's
Yeah.
all
We've only got
over.
one question.
I'm saying it's all over me, and it's all over my mouse. There's oranges everywhere. Go ahead.
It's okay because we've got time to clear up. There's been another super chat, little downpour. Original D-Rose, 99 cents. A message, just sarcasm. I feel. Thank you, D-Rose. And then
Change it.
You know,
I can't change it.
I know they can't, but just like there's fellow flat earthers out there to prove you wrong. Lumping gas in a vacuum. US $5 super chat. You and FED made me able to know. Thank you, bro. Very kind.
Very kind. Thank you very much, guys. Brian,
Clench
give me
your
like
fingers.
Brian, give me 2 minutes, man. Let me finish this darn thing off and do a quick wash of the meat hooks, and we're good to go.
99 cents is because they don't like round numbers.
I
Hey,
got
Brian,
that.
Oh, that was worthy of 10th.
Hey, Brian. Hey, Brian, I think we could do a similar presentation to what you're doing, but do it with orbital mechanics as well, because of the point of reference to the apogee and perigee.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Because it's all the same thing. They're using a horizontal plane because they have to. So you should do that. You know, you've obviously you spent a long time as a bowler. No insult meant. But you know about that more than I would. I haven't even looked into that even. But I know they're using the horizontal plane.
Well, I mean, in all fairness, they have to, don't they?
There isn't any other data to tap into, so yeah.
Well, there's no way to do it without using horizontal plane because they have to use because they're using Alt-Az, but they're also using RA and DEC, which is also, you know, it's still Alt-Az, just done in a slightly different way. It's still the same thing. It's just you know, when they're giving you your RA and DEC, that's not some kind of special coordinates, if you understand what I mean.
It's really special. No. Oh, because it relates to the dome. Because what they tried to fudge is the surface. It's interesting how they take it to the center to use that system. Right. In all of these things, all they're doing, every single point, everybody's at the center, aren't they? Their surface measured things are taken to the center, then projected out by conversion. That's the thing I'm finding interesting. To do this geodesically, you've got to do it in a if this is the wrong phrase, but in a plain surveying way first to be able to convert it into that. You can't just do it in this all geodesic manner. It's not actually measurable in that way. I've gathered so far.
Well, to do all the things they need to do, you have to measure them all from the center of a globe Earth. That's the problem. Yeah, how do you do that?
In a surface, on a surface. Yeah.
Yeah. They always have to take the surface, they always have to deal with reality and then move it to the center of a globe. That's what they have to do. The celestial navigation was this first one, like, if you think about it, like, because they do horizontal measurements along the using mean sea level, and then they bring it down to their equatorial plane at equinox, and they then claim to measure an arc length. But they're not measuring an arc length. It's just a mathematical calculation, a calculated. That's what it's more like. If we were on a globe, that's what it would be, kind of thing, as opposed to what it really is. You know, and they must distort those measurements 2 times over to put them on a globe, and the second distortion is obviously using the transform equation.
Adam,
At equinox is the interesting bit there. But before I let you talk, Brian, I'm on fire, bro. Retro bill, $5 D-Ros. $5 D-Ros. Yeah. As cousins of the rocks, we FE hillbillies are all related. I know that lady.
no, you forgot that last term down there. Look at it.
Oh God, brilliant. I'll do it
That's
again.
what.
Retro bill, $5 super chat. Thank you, sir. As cousins of the rocks, we FL hillbillies are all related. Thank you.
You got to be sharp with these guys, man. That's what I didn't notice it at first, and they'll double look at it. Yeah, nice one, Retro. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Brian, I am just about ready.
I'm ready to go. Yeah, the first section was the longest one, so the next 5 sections are a lot shorter.
Okay,
but the first section was the longest one.
The next 8 sections are a lot shorter, folks.
I've put a bet on QE actually that this will end before any baller gets the black swan. Crap odds.
But the reason why this is so cool and why you mentioned Cartesian, I wanted to fit this in. Anyone that's ever graphed a function, you baltards are finished. It's all over. Did you like that, Adam? Yes. No. The heck with it.
Yeah, you know about navigation, as you land navigation, as you have certificates in it, so you understand.
I think I could possibly be, and I'm not being pretentious, the only one that's like certifiable in navigation. Now, this is land navigation, granted, but I think I might be the only one.
Yeah, very good, right? But the qualification for this isn't can I navigate? It's do I understand how graphs work?
That's true. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, correct. All you have to know, if you've ever graphed functions before, you know what Cartesian. It's not fully Cartesian, but you know what I mean. All right, Brian, floor's yours right now.
Okay. It says, so how GPS actually works, section 2. Different types of GPS and their uses. Okay, next slide, please, QE. Competing navigation systems. This is just a basic rundown of what's out there. There's GPS from the USA, see it says 1995 there. There's GLONASS from Russia, 96. Compass, China, 2008. Galileo, EU, ESA, 2012. GPS2, USA, 2015. And GPS3, USA, 2021. So they're talking about precision there. So they have 16-meter precision for the original GPS. For GLONASS, Russia, they're giving them 57 to 70 meters. I'd say it's an American that done out this chart because they're really aiming it into the Russians. They're saying the Russians don't know where they are.
Right, just give me one second while at this point, because QE you need to share in a Discord.
Oh,
Um,
I forgot. Sorry about that.
It's okay. D Rose has saved us. We've got a $9.99 super chat. I see the last guy's $5 and raising $4.99. Next time I drive my vehicle, my perspective of GPS is on a whole new, more understandable level. Thanks to Brian, you and QE Live rock. Here's D Rose.
Thanks, D
Thanks,
Rose.
D Rose and everyone else.
Enjoy your 1 cent.
I had a question. Why is there a horizontal with a star down here?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, I am. I'm talking to you. In your last slide, competing navigation systems, down in the right-hand corner, everyone can see it down here. I'm circling it. It has a star, and
Oh, yeah.
it's yep.
I suppose they're talking about precision, probably in horizontal precision.
Oh.
Let's just say competing precision.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay, they used the star, but I guess the star's for everything? Oh, I got it. Sorry. I failed to see the star over here.
I'm Paul.
It's just unforgivable. All right, Brian, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. I just reiterate this. This is just competing navigation systems: GPS, USA, GLONASS, Russia, Compass, China, Galileo, EU, ESA, GPS 2, USA, and GPS 3, also USA. So they're just showing the precision. I just said earlier that because they're giving Russia's GLONASS such bad precision, it's probably an American that did up this some years ago. They're really sticking it to the Russians here, that they don't have good precision. But I'm sure that's not true. I'm sure the Russians' GLONASS precision is a whole lot better than that. And the reason I say that is that they're all the same thing. They're all using the same systems. They're calling it different names. It's just the same nonsense.
Just German propaganda. Look at it. Der Spiegel, look. There's your source.
Yeah, Der Spiegel. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
they would want to, back in the Cold War, to have wanted the Russians to be accurate, wouldn't they, in 96? Isn't that pre-Hasselhoff, before he brought the wall down?
No, that's after.
Sure.
No. The wall came down.
They can relax a bit if the Russian missiles are that inaccurate.
Yeah, wall came down November 9th, 1989. November 10th, 9th to 10th, 1989. I'll get it right. I was there, by the way.
Miles either. Those aren't miles either. Those are meters.
Yeah, they're meters. I was there, by the way. Just want to let you know, Adam.
The military?
Yeah.
All I care about was David Hasselhoff being there.
About David Hasselhoff. Gotcha. Brian, save us.
Yeah. I wasn't. I hope I didn't say miles because I meant meters.
No, you didn't.
No.
Next.
Okay, next. Yeah, on to the next slide. Okay, so differential GPS, DGPS, is a technique for reducing the error in GPS-derived positions by using additional data from a reference GPS receiver at a known position. The most common form of DGPS involves determining the combined effects of navigation, message ephemereses, and satellite clock errors. Differential position accuracies of 1 to 10 meters are possible with DGPS. Right. Next, please, QE. AGPS, assisted GPS definition. Assisted GPS, AGPS, is used to speed up startup times of GPS-based positioning systems. GPS may have problems getting a lock when the signal is weak, and in such a case, AGPS would assist in getting a lock. This, however, is achieved by the use of an assistance server, so a data connection is required and charges may apply for the data transfer. Okay, just before I go on, differential GPS and AGPS are basically the same thing, but used differently. What I mean by that is differential GPS is more commercial. It's more something that will be used by, let's just say, DHL, right? Or aerospace, shipping, different things like that. What DGPS is they're using land-based towers and land-based base stations to what they say improve the accuracy of the satellites, right? This is their claim, right? That they're improving the accuracy by using these land-based, let's say, base stations, whatever. Assisted GPS is doing the exact same thing with cell towers. Now, have no doubt, DGPS, differential GPS, is using cell towers too, because they're using everything they can. It's not like, well, we don't use that. We only use these. No, that's not how it works. They use everything they can possibly use, and that's what they're using. So they're the same thing.
So
Just
are both
just say me.
saying they use the ground?
Yes,
as
differential. Yeah, they're using base stations, terrestrial stations, and terrestrial cell towers and all that. They're using terrestrial. Basically, they're using the ground, right? So you get a better signal when they're using the ground. And I'm not saying they're not using the sky, but if you could, let's just say hypothetically, if you take high altitude balloons and you use them and you use ground stations, then you would, especially these days, what a lot of people don't realize is that when you're driving along in your car and you have, let's say, you have obviously a signal to your car, or a GPS signal or whatever, they can use that with the next car. The next car can use that. So they're just bouncing all these things around, right? Or a radio tower to your car, anything, as long as they can, because it's all about information, as long as they can get the information necessary to the unit, to your phone with assisted GPS, or your tablet or your computer, because assisted GPS is more like for public personal use, whereas differential GPS is more like commercial. But it's the same thing. They'll use anything they need to use, as long as that information can be relayed from a signal source to a receiver. That receiver could be a phone, or it could be in a DHL truck that's going from one state to another. That's what it is, right? So,
but both types
yeah.
say that integrals for them to actually work properly, accurately, require land-based towers, antennas of some description. Whichever way they use it, the way in which it works functionally is when they've got land-based signals to bounce things to and from.
Yes. And just so you know, surveying use differential GPS. That's what surveying use. Surveying, and there was a man called Rodney B. I don't see him around now, but he's a surveyor. He was on our side, and he said a satellite can be just a truck that can be used as a base station within surveying. You could have a truck that moves around. A satellite doesn't have. It just has to be a satellite. He said it can be anything, as long as it's just a coordinate, so you can get a signal off and you can use. I can't remember verbatim what he said, but basically he was saying is it doesn't have to be something coming from the sky or anything like that. He says when you're in surveying, you're going to use base stations, and that's what they use. Surveying use differential GPS. And remember, all of GPS basically comes from, with the exception of the celestial part, comes from surveying. So differential GPS and assisted GPS is just like there's more towers around. There's more 4G. There's more 5G. Do you know what I mean? So more information is being passed around at a faster rate. So there's more precision. Because they can use my phone and your phone and someone else's computer or someone else's whatever and a cell tower. And, I'm going to go into all that a bit later. But basically, they can use anything all they need to do is get the information to where they need it to go to. And any signal that they can use to get that,
got it.
They'll use it. Yeah.
Got it.
Okay. Next, we move on. Okay. Next, GPS satellite signals. You have L1 civilian signal and L2 military signal. This is just something I wanted to add in because I read into this. And the civilian signal is just a basic signal, right? Information. A lot of people think that the military signal is more precise, right? They're using a double signal or two signals, and it's for precision. Now, they might have more precision because they're using airplanes and stuff. I can't remember the name of the airplanes. QE, you might know the name of them. They have like a big bulbous antenna.
AWACS.
Sorry?
AWACS.
AWACS, yes. And basically, so they might have more precision because they'll have the use of those type of things. So, and they'll also have base stations that they can move around.
Oh,
But the
hold
real
up,
reason-
hold up.
Hang on,
More
hang on.
precision through base stations and airplanes. Is this not satellites?
Yeah, well, yeah, I know. That's what we're going to.
I'm being
don't get-
ironic, Brian. That was all.
I know, but don't get lost too much with the because some of this stuff is not a red herrings. It's not red herrings. They're not red herrings, but they. I won't go into it now. I'll just continue on the line I'm on because otherwise I'll start explaining something when there's no need to explain it. But basically, the whole point of the military having two signals is so one signal will definitely get there. Because if the enemy are trying to intervene, they're going to try and stop a signal. So the chances are that if they have two signals, there's a better chance of the person who needs the signal will get it. If they have two, right? So it's harder for the enemy to encode two at one time, if you understand what I mean. One signal can be stopped or blocked or encoded or whatever. I don't know, my terms might not be correct. But the whole point of it is, when I read into it, is that it's not for more precision. The whole point of it is that the signal actually gets there.
It's for redundancy.
Yeah. Redundancy, okay.
Next.
Okay, next, please. Okay, this is the basics of what they claim for a globe. Is you have 4 satellites, let's just say, and they're basically making radii and spheres off of those radii to a point on the surface of a globe, and they're using basically c, which is the two-way speed of light calculation, as a distance measurement, or as a distance between the satellite and the receiver. That's just basically. So you have 4 satellites with 4 distances based off of a two-way speed of light calculation to a claimed GPS receiver. Next, please. So this is just kind of the use of like differential and assisted GPS, where you have all these different directions where you're getting local mobile service provider to tracking server to your client's PC, and you have to trackers in trucks and different things. And of course, they always put in the satellite as it begins with this, because they always have to put in a satellite to say it's beginning with a satellite off out in heliocentric space. Right. Next, please, QE.
It's surplus to requirements.
Yeah, according to them, it is. So, but here you have again.
Right, just to go back to that slide. What you're as they claim, there's the satellite giving its GPS position because it's written on that line. The GSM or GPRS communications, they seem to be the same thing that's defining its position. The land-based towers. Yeah.
Well, the claim, Adam, is that they're giving all these signals to the base towers, and the base towers then or they're giving the signals to the base towers and to the truck, let's just say, but the base towers are giving corrections to the truck. So it's precision correction
from the base towers to the truck to.
Well, they are. That's what they're claiming to do. They're claiming to ping to the truck and the base tower. But the base tower with differential GPS, let's just say, or assisted, with differential GPS, the base tower, right, gives corrections to the truck, precision corrections to the truck, right? Whereas with assisted GPS, it all goes to the base tower, right, then to the server, and then to your phone or to your computer, this kind of thing. So,
The only point I was making was that certainly, unless you're far out at sea, the satellites seem superfluous to any function in this. The towers are sufficient. There's lots of towers.
Unnecessary, let's just
accuracy. The point being, do the towers just, and I'm being a bit dimmy, yeah? Do the towers just provide accuracy and nothing else, and require the satellite to give them a rough location, or what do the satellites do if?
Well, claim is this. We're getting to that. The whole point is that they're claiming that the signals go to the truck and to the tower, but then the tower sends signals to the truck, the base station to the truck, to give it precision accuracy. right? And it could be dealing with 5 towers in the vicinity of the truck to give it an accuracy of, let's say, of a 2-meter radius or whatever, as opposed to a 30-meter radius or 40-meter radius with its satellites. No, because GPS is just satellites. Was differential GPS and assisted GPS is extra precision. This is how they describe it. Right?
Do they need the satellite to tell the truck and the GPS systems and all the extra communications that the truck's in Wolverhampton, and then use the land towers to do everything else?
I doubt they need any of that in Wolverhampton. Why would you need that? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is the kind of where I'm getting to. Right?
Yeah,
This is where I'm getting
yeah.
to. So, yeah. So I'm going to move on. Next slide, please. Can we?
Yep.
So here we have 3 network towers. You have GPS satellites, you have assisted server, and you have our phone, right? So you're just laying out how your phone gets GPS, basically. They're claiming goes to the towers, to the server, to your phone, blah, 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 right? Next slide, please. Same carry on again, where the phone is supposedly getting GPS signals from satellites, but they're also going to dishes, satellite dishes, towers, to servers, to towers, to cell towers, to your phone, right? So it all has to go through other processes to get to your phone, but your phone is supposedly also getting it, just like the truck is also getting signals from satellites, because it's all keeping what they need to claim alive, right? Which is satellites orbiting the globe, right? So next one, please. Here you have DGPS geometry, ground reference station, right? Here you have 4 satellites, and they're pinging to the ship, but they're also pinging to the ground reference station, and the ship then is getting its corrections from the ground reference station, or maybe it's just getting signals from the ground reference station. Do you know what I mean? But see, ships are moving what they call great circle routes, which means that and most of the time ships aren't as far from shore as people might think. So ships might be always within range of at least another ship, which I'm going to get to later, at least another ship that they can get information from, if not close enough to be able to get information from the shore. Because if you think about it, what would get in the way of information from the shore? If you're on water, you'd have to be some pretty high waves or something. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to go into all the details, but you know what I mean. It's like they always need land-based things to, whether it be personal or commercial, to give what they would call precision. But it just happens that they have a lot more cell towers and base stations now than they used to have. Do you know what I mean? So maybe they didn't have precision years ago because they didn't have as many base stations and cell towers and all the rest of it, right? That's the thing. But now they have more of them, and they also have, so as time moved on, they have more of these things that can help them have precision. But it's still all coming from satellites. That's what they must make you believe. Next one, please, Kiwi.
Even my phone. You know the slide
Yeah.
before. You don't need to go back, Kiwi. But are they claiming like my mobile is talking to a satellite?
Yeah. Well, no, your mobile. Well, it depends. Some mobiles have what they call a GPS receiver in them. It depends on the age of the mobile and the type. They say some mobiles have GPS receivers in them, but most mobiles, or the older mobiles and smartphones, won't have. They just purely have a link to cell towers. But the only way to find out if you do have a GPS receiver in your mobile is go off out into the middle of the Amazon and see if you can get a signal. If you get your maps working. Do you know what I mean? Because that's where you would need it to work. You know what I mean? But if you look at someone like Survivor Man, I saw a clip of his, I think Taboo Conspiracy put it out, Ben put it out, where he had 3 or 4 of these big, blocky, supposedly GPS phones carrying around with him, and he couldn't get a signal anywhere. He was in northern Canada or Cambodia. He was out in northern Canada or somewhere.
No.
Yeah.
You can get a signal, even if a dinosaur swallows one of them. You can get a signal from the inside. I've seen it on the movies. Yeah.
On the movies, yeah, but when he did it in reality, when he was saying in reality, these things are just weight. I'm carrying this weight around with me.
That was my sarcastic point. I've only seen these things work in movies. They don't appear. And that's why I was interested. Does my phone is there a claim that my phone connects in some way? with
They give
with a
the impression
signal
to
from the
people.
satellite.
Well, they give the impression to people that your phone's always connected to satellites, but that's not true, because your phone wouldn't have been able to take in the signal. Your phone definitely gets information from cell towers. That's all I can tell you for definite. Whether it's getting information from any kind of air-based GPS thing, I have no idea. But I know it's definitely getting information from cell towers, and they claim to put in a GPS receiver in some of the newer phones in the past few years. I don't know how true it is, because, as I said, the only way to go off out into the Amazon and see what happens. Do you know what I mean?
But that's different, isn't it? Claiming it's got a GPS receiver is different to claiming that the signal's coming from a satellite. I know I'm being subtle. But
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is different. Yeah, it is different. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. It is different. But the point still stands, right? You don't know where the signal is coming from, but the point is that they're not going to have. See, in reality, we're dealing with reality. Are they going to have a load of, let's say, if they have some kind of air-based GPS system going on, are they going to have a load of that over the Sahara Desert? No. Who's going to need that in the Sahara Desert? The Bedouin or whoever goes through the Sahara Desert. These people know where they're going. Their generations of their families have always been able to navigate the desert. They don't need GPS. So who needs the GPS in the desert? Right? In reality, who needs it? Who did the tribes in the Amazon need it? No, they know where they're going and where they're not going. More importantly, the point is that they don't need it, right? So they'll claim, well, it's not needed in the Sahara Desert, so we don't have satellites going over that. Excuse me, over there, blah blah blah. But if you were on a globe and satellites were a real thing, as they say, there'd be no way that you could not get a signal. That's the problem with that claim.
Overlap,
It would be
wouldn't
impossible not to be able to get a signal. Let's be honest.
It'd have to be such a level of overlap that you would, wouldn't you? But they
you could not. Yeah.
I saw a military training thing on this. It's like dealing with fighters, how they locate the military in these areas, on land, in these more desolate areas, and they were like selling these balloon-based GPS locating systems that you put up very high, way outside of the view of the enemy, and they give you a full 3D locating of everything. Again, I'd ask the question: if that's the case, what you're describing, why would you stick something into a violation of the second law of thermodynamics to be cheeky?
This is a family show. Adam, this is a family show.
But guys, speaking about that, the whole presupposed sphere with the satellites all over it and all of that argument and everything. The point Brian made good. It's like, other than I've heard about tin roofs, because like my in-laws, they got those fancy tin roofs, and sometimes I don't get a network signal from Verizon. However, I do get their Wi-Fi. I don't know how that system works, but Amazon forest and all those places like that, they don't have tin roofs. I mean, trees don't distract the signal from coming through. So if you got satellites all over the so-called presupposed globe, you should be able to get a signal everywhere.
Well,
Everywhere.
as long as you're not blocked, see, the signals are microwaves, right? That's what they claim, and because it's supposedly going through a vacuum, there's nothing to impede it. This is what they say, right? But obviously, a microwave signal won't go through concrete and different things like that. But if you're standing in the middle of the Sahara, there's no way you shouldn't be able to get it.
Exactly.
You're not blocked by anything.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
even the Amazon tribal member in the straw hut.
Oh, brother.
we better move on, right? No, but you haven't. No, D Rose, you know what I'm on about. You know what I'm saying.
Yep.
I mean, everyone understands it here. Everyone understands it.
Yep.
Okay.
Next.
Say, it's kind of the opposite of what you said. The military has two signals, and it's called redundancy. I want to use redundancy in another system, and that seems to be, again, this use of the satellite in all of this communication network and locating. It seems to be redundant in it. Yeah, they're going to great lengths, as Brian showed in the phones, all these things of how the satellite plays a role. But if you actually look at it, it doesn't, does it? That's why I was interrupting and just clarifying. Is it doing anything? I don't see what it's actually doing unless you are out of the signal, out of the reach of a land-based tower. It appears to be pointless to GPS.
Yes,
Certainly in terms of accuracy.
Yes,
That's what we're getting to.
Well,
Yeah,
then I
that's what I'm
surmised
getting to.
very well.
Yeah, no, you're right, Adam. You're right, but that's where we're going to. I just needed to lay out. I have to just lay out exactly what their claims are and why they don't work. Let's just say that's kind of where I'm at.
I'm not being a smart ass here, Brian. I'm learning as I'm going along, and I'm listening and looking at.
No,
this
you
thing.
understand. You're getting it exactly. It's like you have to start scratching your head, going, "What do they have?" Because it seems to me that without any land-based stuff, they don't have anything. If you understand what I mean.
but yeah, that's becoming quite clear.
Yeah.
What
Okay.
slide number are we on?
Next,
Before we go on, what slide number are we on?
We're on the one with there's a fighter jet.
Number. I know it's number 22 now, isn't it? We've gone back. Anyway, right, go on.
Okay, you're on the same one as me then, QE, the fighter jet.
Nah, I went next already.
Oh, could you go back to the fighter jet? I know, just because there was the fighter jet before that was the ship.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm on it.
Okay, so here we have it. A fighter jet receiving signals, ground signals. Those signals are going to a ground station, but those signals from these satellites are also going to the GPS receiver on the plane. Now, the plane would very likely have a GPS receiver on the top and on the bottom, right? That's where, because it can receive signals then from below and above, right? So if there's high altitude balloon, whatever people want to believe, satellites or a plane that's higher than it, they can receive information from that, right? So here is just an example of that. Next one, please. Here we have again an airplane. Signal is going from satellites to the airplane to the ground station, and the ground station is broadcast pseudo range correction, right? So it's using the ground station again, right? Aerospace, right? Next one, please. Here we have again, same thing again, all in XYZ. You have DGPS and calculated aircraft position. You have the signal correction, blah blah blah. Right. Next one again, please. Here we have again a ship getting signals and from a satellite, and the satellite giving signals to a tower. The correction data sent to a base station. The correction data sent to a tower. And then that correction, DGPS correction signal sent to the ship, right? So it's all. Sorry, Adam.
That one stinks. Look at that. Look at what you're being mugged off. Where, if you're on a ship, all you need is those two towers. Yeah, as two towers. You don't need the satellite again, do you? You can perfectly well locate yourself, assuming they're the only two towers, not the tower, but the one that does the, what's it labelled as? Correction data. That I find intriguing. That just stinks to me, Brian, as trying to stick something in the sky when you've got everything you need on the ground.
Well, yeah. Well, this is why I'm going to get to in a small while. We're going to get to how it actually works.
I like what Adam's saying, though. I like where he's going.
Okay, next one. Yeah, you're right, Adam. No, you're right. It's heading in the right direction. I'm not critiquing anyone here. Next one then will be the last one of this section, please, QE. This is just a very basic one. Yeah, you have a control segment on the ground. You have these 4 satellites on a globe, and they're over a globe, and the control segment is going to give the truck its corrections. That's basically it, and that's end of that section. So if you want to read out super chats or anything like that, otherwise we'll go on to the next section.
Looks like we're headed to the next section.
Yeah, we're low on super chats right now.
Right. So 1 second.
Whilst QE pulls it back up, on section 3, just that last one that's on screen again. There's a control segment. It seems to be as strange claim to me that's not been explained previously, why land-based things control the satellites. Is that what they're doing now? This seems to be a strange just strap-on to cover anything that might be needed in the future when you question it. Is there a function to that, or am I, that's integral to this? Because otherwise, it again just seems that we're pretending we've got satellites, and the things we've got on ground aren't actually talking to the truck; they're controlling the satellite. Yeah.
Well, no, the satellite is giving the signal to the truck and the signals to the ground station. The ground station is taking those signals and then giving the truck the correction for its precision. That's the whole point of it. So
instead of just talking to the station, which would give it, which is the thing that's required to give it the accuracy, it talks to something in space.
But there's no
gives it a
talking
rough
going on.
idea that then tells it which ground station to tell it to do the function it was set out to do in the first place. Got you, Brian. Like it.
Go, Brian.
Sorry, this is the thing. This is the next section.
Yes.
How GPS actually works. Section 3, the GPS receiver and its relationship to a signal source. This is what a lot of people don't understand. The GPS receiver receives, the signal source sends. There is no to and fro communication. There's a signal with information within it. There is a receiver for that information. That's it. The receiver does not have any communication, two-way communication with the signal. No, so it doesn't matter where the signal is coming from, because that receiver can only receive it and work off of the information it gets.
So the receiver's not a transmitter.
No, it just receives information, and it has inbuilt information, and it has to work out where it is based off of that. So first slide there, next slide I should say, after that. So it should show just a grey phone, a grey GPS receiver. Thank you. As you can see on it, it's showing a compass on the front here. What a receiver receives, it's claimed to receive the angle to an altitude of a celestial body, of a satellite, the angle to it, the altitude of it, and the compass direction of it, right? So the compass, the azimuth compass direction of where the sub point of that satellite is. Right, I'm going to use the word satellite just because it's easiest, right, rather than trying to deny the use of it. Right, so the sub point, which is the same as a GP point of a celestial body, that's what it receives. So it receives the coordinates of that satellite sub point, its angle, the angle to the satellite, right, the timing of the signal, right, because it supposedly has to work out timings of the signal, right. This is the claim, right, using general relativity nonsense. And it receives the azimuth compass direction of it, right? Now, within the receiver, it knows supposedly the let's just say the satellite ephemeris, right? Satellites that have to exist for that to exist. Now, that could exist as a high altitude balloon situation, right? Let's just say if you want to deny the satellites, right? Fine, right? Which I obviously would, but I'm not going to go into that now. It doesn't matter. But it also, within the GPS receiver, has the celestial ephemeris. A lot of people don't know that. I actually corrected some ballers on it who didn't realize that the GPS receiver has the celestial ephemeris in it, and it uses it, the nautical almanac, it uses it all the time. Right? And this is why it went.
Is that as a point of correction? I would have bloody assume.
Well, that way you can use. Go on, yeah.
Just on the previous stuff. So you're saying it's just a receiver. So I assume they send something that's encoded with a GPS date, a timestamp from the GPS, and that way, I assume from the ping. Just humour me, because I'm trying to work this out. Because the claim you've said of what the other data that's included in it has confused me. So I assume from that, you're given, or you can calculate the time difference from the point of emission on the GPS scale to your point of receiving on the GPS scale. That gives you a pingage, that gives you a speed of light distance to give you a distance. It allows you to then triangulate your position.
Well,
I'm confused how.
yeah, I don't. We're going to get to that. It's okay. That's all.
Is that right so far, though? Just so.
Basically, it gets 4 signals. This is what the claim is. It gets 4 or more signals, and those 4 signals will have angles to where the signal is coming from. It'll have a time that the signal was sent, right? It will have a compass azimuth direction to the sub point of where that satellite sits over on the Earth. Just think of it as GP point. So it's the same thing. So it will have what it gets. Yeah, it gets. Go on.
On those 4 bits of data, the angles that's being sent. How the hell? Because this is part of like.
Yeah,
radar calculation. You're going to get to it, right? I'll shut up then. Sorry, Brian. Yeah.
Yeah, we're getting to it, Adam. It's okay. What you're going, how the hell is this going on? Yeah, that's what we're going to get to. This is what we're going to get to. I understand what you're saying. See, basically,
Can we get there?
Yeah, we will. The basics are a GPS receiver receives 4 coordinates.
You already said that. You said
yeah,
it.
But
like...
I don't know if people are understand. Yeah, but I'm trying to. Okay, we'll move on to the next slide.
Explaining to the dummy over here. Honestly, I'm learning. I'm trying to get this in my head.
He said it 3 times.
That works for me.
Okay, so once again, I want to point out here the compass, right? You see the compass direction, and the compass is shown on the. That compass is pointing to the direction of the sub point of the satellite or signal, right? Because it doesn't matter where the signal is coming from; it's the direction of it. It's treating it as a flat plane and giving it a direction. So next one, please, Kiwi. Okay, here you have the very thing that would be on the screen there. That is a compass, right? This is a compass rose or whatever, or a compass card in azimuth, right? Because that's how they work, right? Next one, please, Kiwi. This and the next 2, they are what they call a sky map of satellites. So basically, if they put the receiver in the center there, if I'm correct about this, they put the receiver in the center there, all these different G26, G21, all this, they're all supposedly satellites that are in the vicinity of that receiver kind of thing, right? Next slide, please. Kiwi, same again with this, right? Compass, again, right? If you have put the compass card on that, you will get the compass direction. The receiver will get the compass direction to the whatever 16, 12, 3, all these supposed satellites or sub points. Now, a sub point, as I said, sub point can be a base station, right? It could be a high altitude balloon. All it needs, this is the important thing, it just needs coordinates. And from there, and I'll show in a minute, in the next section, how it finds its location. Next one again, Kiwi, right? Try and remember this when people are looking at this. Look at this one. This is, right, this is the working out via triangulation of a position, right? Blah, blah, blah. Next one, please, Kiwi. Here you have 3 base stations, right?
Go back, Ryan.
No.
Really, just because that last picture, right, is triangulation personic. Look at it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can't do that if this surface is curving. So all these angles make sense, and they're invoking a north-south, which is what I understand, which is still a 2D. This is a polar grid, but it doesn't matter.
Nope.
It's the way you're going to do it is law of cosines or whatever you're going to use in this stuff. Fundamentally, you can't calculate anything if the surface isn't anything but flat.
Exactly.
Even with a combination of a polar grid,
yep,
and magnetic north, yeah.
Yep. Correct.
All those things work. You curve that surface, everything turns to shit.
Yep. Yes, sir.
Crudely.
Yeah.
Yep. Good point.
Exactly. Exactly. The same is true for this slide we're on here with the wireless sensor whose coordinates x, y is unknown, right? So it's getting 3 signals from 3 different base stations, and it doesn't know where it is. It has to figure out where it is based off of the coordinates of those base stations. Next one QE, please.
Yeah, we're on the base
Same
station.
again.
We're on the base station 1, base station A, B, and C. Do you want the next one, or is
Yep.
this good?
The next one, please. On from that. Next one on from that.
Yep.
So here we are again, just showing different examples, just so people don't think I cherry picked just something. I didn't cherry pick anything. These are the official diagrams. Here we are again, right? Same thing again. 3 radii, and they're triangulating. And this thing about trilateration and triangulation, they're using both, right? They'll use everything they have to. They're not going to go, oh, we won't use trilateration or we won't use triangulation. That's not, no. They use everything they need to use to get precision, right? So next one again, QE. Here are again, similar to that one, to the slide a couple of slides back, and they're showing a radius to each base station, and that circle, right, that's created, right, basically off that radius, just like celestial navigation. Next one, please, QE. Here we are again with 3 circles, and now they're turning them into triangles, right? So you have receiver 3, x3 and y3, x1, y1, and x2, y2, and you have xy, which is where the target is that it needs to find its position based off, right? There's stuff, I just want you to know, there's stuff I'm not going into here because it's only going to confuse things, right? But it doesn't matter, because that stuff won't matter in a while. Okay, next one, please, QE. Okay, here you have it. You have observer, right? Satellite, sub-satellite point. You have horizontal, obviously, radius, right? You have north. You have an angle to the satellite, right? Now, it doesn't matter if that satellite is claimed to be, let's just say, it wouldn't matter if that satellite is claimed to be 10,000 miles in the sky, and the angle to it was whatever angle, as long as that sub-satellite point is in a horizontal, let's just say, from the receiver, because that's how the receiver is going to work it out, right? It's going to work it out in 2D first, right? But this is an official diagram, right? Sub-satellite point in a horizontal to the observer. Next one, please, QE. So you have 3 colored circles here, same thing, where it's creating a triangle, and basically between them, and that's the basics of how the receiver starts to find its position in the center, right? Next one, please, QE. This is what they're trying to make people believe. So they're trying to make people believe that these 2 signals, and it's basically somehow they're going to have to come up with an arc length type situation to try and find the receiver is going to have to somehow mathematically work out arc lengths to try and find its position, blah, blah, blah. So next one, please, QE. Okay, this is when things start getting tricky for the official claim. So if they're on a globe, right, this is the thing. If they're on a globe, their angle to the satellite here, right, has a baseline, which is going to be a tangent plane on a globe, right? But that angle, all they have is this angle here between the tangent plane and the angle to the satellite, and they have another angle between the angle that hypotenuse, let's just say, and the angle the satellite is supposedly making to its sub-satellite point, and then to the center of a globe using a radius that was never measured and doesn't exist, right? So if you go on to the next one, please, QE, I highlight this. So they've actually highlighted it for me, and the next 2 will really show it. So you have 2 angles here. The one up by the satellite is a dotted, a serrated red line. That's one angle. You have a second angle down here, which is an angle based off of a tangent plane, right? But how are you going to figure out the length of that arc length off of those 2 angles?
You can't.
You can't. This is going to be very difficult. So if you go on to the next one, please, QE. This is what they have.
R for that, Brian. But fundamentally, yeah. But because it's geodesics and the R is variant and there's maximum and minimum radii, do it on a geodesic shape is that they claim that this is being done on, it puts them in a quandary, doesn't it? Because you've got multiple.
What's that
Sorry.
shape in geometry?
Well,
They're blue highlighted. What is that?
well, it's a triangle, but it's not. See, the problem is, if you look at it, that's what they have based off of their
Yeah.
diagram. What they have is the subsatellite point is supposed to be down at that red X, and let's say that's your device like that. I'm just using this diagram. That may not be a GPS device, but it doesn't matter. It's the same thing. So you have this angle that I've extenuated from this horizontal plane. If I took away that blue line, you would see the rest of that black line. Sorry, not horizontal plane, but tangent plane, and it goes up to a line straight down from the satellite. They have that little angle there, and they have this angle here. So even if they work out this third angle here, right, which they'd have to work out, which the GPS receiver would have to work out, and this would be for 1 of 4. How is it going to find out, even if it worked out, how is it going to find out that angle when it has this angle and that angle? And if it does find out that angle, what does it tell it about its subpoint? Because if you turn this sideways, it's not going to be a right angle triangle.
I
That's
can
not a
do
right
it,
angle
right?
triangle.
I
Sorry?
can do it. I can solve that, but I have to have R. Yeah, I can't do it without R. Yeah, so
Well,
the only way is to pre-assume R, and then you can do it because you can create a tangent plane. But it's not what's being done. It's not what's being measured. That's what it is postulated to being done.
yeah.
That is so complicated. But
But
like I say,
see-
it requires an accurate
Right.
R.
Yeah,
Not
but
only
the
that-
subsatellite point, see, they're showing, as I showed earlier, they're using the horizontal coordinate system, which is azimuth and elevation. And that's a right angle. The elevation angle is a right angle triangle. So if I turn this diagram slightly to the left, you don't have a right angle triangle, which would mean the subsatellite point is not where it wouldn't be within this diagram. If you use a right angle triangle, somehow it's not going to be where they have it placed because they're using a curved surface. So it like for the receiver who has nothing but information, right, about the angle and the height of a satellite and its subsatellite point and the compass direction for 4 places. How is it going to do this on a globe for 4 places and find its location? This is the problem. It has to solve for this third angle. It would have to solve, but it doesn't know. You see, this is the thing, Adam. It doesn't know this angle. Right? See that where the satellite is? It doesn't see that line, that blue line coming down to the H and then continuing on to its subpoint. It doesn't know that. That's the problem. It doesn't know that angle. It only knows this angle. That's the only angle it knows. It doesn't get information on this other angle. It has to try and work out that. That's what it would have to do under those circumstances. So if we go on to the next,
it knows theta E. Okay.
yeah,
The question is, it can't know. See, the thing is, and this is the point. This is, as you said, it's a length. It's a distance that's been communicated to the device. Okay, via an encoded message. Okay, so you've got to. Is it trilaterate here? You're using lengths, aren't you, to generate the bearing? And this is the point. This length has multiple positions because the Earth's curving away. There are different points that would have the same time, could equivocate to the same time. You can't do that on a flat plane. Things become simple. Even if you do know R, which appears to be a big variance, and maybe why, even if you add high up stuff, it would provide inaccuracy, even in their model. But
yeah, but
I
the thing
don't
about
see
this,
how you derive any data, useful data, if the surface is curving. Yeah, you get me?
Yeah,
Because
but-
even
yeah,
if you
that's the
create
point.
the tangent, it doesn't necessarily help you refine the point on the surface. It's a possible tangent, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's the point, because dealing with the curve, all sorts of.
See, the problem is that the receiver doesn't know its distance to that sub-satellite point. So it doesn't know that angle. See that angle they have up there, that red dotted angle. It doesn't know that angle.
So all you've got is the side. That's what I'm saying. You've only got the side length d, which you want to derive it because you think now on a flat plane that's easy, but there's lots of available paths on a curved surface that would deny that before you could then impose a tangent, because all you've got is d. So you
exactly, you can't use a right angle triangle in that scenario.
No.
You can't do it in that scenario because you'd have to know that other angle, the one that has that red dotted line up near the satellite. It doesn't know that angle because it doesn't know its distance to the sub-satellite point. That's what it's trying to work out. It's trying to work out where it is. Like people think
it's not going to be able to do it.
No, that's the point. It can't. It won't be able to do it, and it's supposed to do this 4 times. At least 4.
I'm wrong, Brian. All the IoT device receives is a transmission data from the satellite, which is time encoded, so it knows how long ago it was. It then receives it to know the side length d.
Yeah, and it receives sub-satellite point information.
It also knows the height of the satellite, the sub-satellite point. It knows that. The point of intersection with the satellite to the sub-satellite point, it doesn't know. All it knows is d. It doesn't know theta d or theta e, just given d, and that's what it's got to deal with.
Yeah, it only knows the angle using, if you use a globe, using a tangent plane, it only knows that side length and the angle, right? It doesn't know the distance along that arc to the sub-satellite point, so it doesn't know, right? It can't use a right angle triangle in this position, in this situation. You can't use them, right?
Yep.
Not until it sets up the tangent, but it needs to know where it is to set the tangent up relative to the satellite in the first place. Right. But on that point, another super chat. Original D-Rose. $1.99. It's Quasimodo right angle from Notre Dame. It is indeed. I think we've done this to death, so Bright, carry on, mate.
Okay, next one, please, Kiwi. This is the last one of this section.
This is really good. I like this. You know what we're going to do? Because we're running really late, we're going to end it with the next slide. We're going to end the presentation. Is that okay?
Well,
no,
I know there isn't much left to go. The last 3 sections are they're not, especially the last 2. It's really only the next section. The next section is this section.
All right.
Understand what I mean?
All right, let's roll.
Right. Yeah, just for the next one, because after that can just be conversation. The last 2 portions are really just making a case for globe and flat.
All right, let's roll.
Yeah. Okay. So as you can see, what it needs is those red lines to be able to work this out, and it doesn't have them. Yeah. So
we're done with that slide. We're on to the next slide. We're on to the next section.
Next section then, okay? On to the next section. Okay, how GPS actually works, section 4, the real way GPS works and why it works that way. Okay, first slide, please, Kiwi. Now, what I have here, right, you have a compass, right, card here, right? Just like was on the front of those GPS receivers. What I have is I have a signal sub point here up in the top in green. Look at the green line up at the top to the left, signal sub point. Now that can be high altitude balloon, satellite, whatever you want to believe it to be, right? Now the receiver, right, gets that. It needs one signal. It needs at least one signal and the information of the coordinates information of one place, whether it be base station, something in the sky, whatever, right? It needs one, right? So we're starting with this one, the green one, right? Now, it knows that at that degree, which is, let's say, 328 degrees northwest, right? That there is a signal sub point in that direction from the receiver. Now, this is all based off on you turned off your GPS receiver in Albania and you've just turned it on in Texas, right? So any previous information it had, it doesn't have now. It's the information about Albania doesn't mean anything. This is for a receiver that doesn't have any information. It has to figure out where it is right there and then, right? This is right. So it's not like it's been on all the time and it knows it's in Texas. It has to figure out that it's in Texas, right? So that sub point, that green signal sub point at northwest there, right? What it does is it shoots a straight line to southeast, right? Indirectly through, and it knows it's somewhere on that line. It also will know from obviously the coordinates that it's in the United States. Now that sub point might be in Texas or might be over the border in the next state, one of the next states. But the point is that it knows it's in the United States now, right? Now, based off of that signal sub point that it has and the time that it received the signal or the signal was sent, it knows if you just come to the celestial GP here in the blue, right, a blue serrated line and a blue dot, it knows that at that exact time, at that exact coordinates, that there was a navigational star, right, directly over this point. So now it has 2 points, right? And what it does with that is that runs that line at that compass degree, which is 282 west. It runs that directly to whatever it is, east, right? In the opposite. So it's an opposite. So we have 2 signals now. We have a signal sub point at up northwest going to southeast, and what that does is it creates like a pseudo sub point to the northeast or to the southeast. And the same with the celestial GP signal using the compass card, it creates a pseudo GP opposite, right? I call them sub point opposite. I just don't know what else to call them, right? Call them a pseudo point, right? So now it has 1, 2, 3, 4 points. 2 that it knows do exist and 2 that are just opposites from that, right? Now it also then picks up something from an aircraft. Information from an airplane. At that time, there was, let's just say, an American Airlines plane flying right off out to its northeast or whatever, right, and a sub point of that, it knows its coordinates from that, and it runs that line directly through as well. So now it has 3 crossing lines, and it then also what's that place, Galveston, right? It gets information from a boat in Galveston, right, off the bay there at Galveston off of Texas, a ship sub point there, and it runs that directly through. So what it has is it has 4 actual coordinates and 4 pseudo coordinates, but it has that gives it like 4 crossing lines, right, and that's how it starts to figure out where it is. It knew it was somewhere on this green line. And when the celestial GP coordinates, when it done that crossing, it started figuring out, okay, so that crossed that at that point. So if you go on to the next slide, please, QE. It then, what it does, is it's going to take its first signal sub point, right, and the celestial GP coordinates. So it has 2 coordinates, and it makes a line between the 2 of those. So that's creating a triangle. Right, so it has compass directions to both of them, and it's now creating a triangle, and it can do that with some of the rest of them as well. So if you move on to the next one, QE, right? So then it creates a pseudo triangle in the opposite, basically like a mirror image triangle in the opposite. So now we're starting to have 2 triangles to really figure out where it is, right? Next one, please, QE. Next slide. And it starts doing that then with the other. It can start connecting up the actual coordinate point of the aircraft with the celestial GP pseudo point, right? So it's right. This is how it starts to work, right? And then it builds triangles around itself, right? Now, remember, each one of these actual, let's just say, it's when it starts figuring out the distances to any one of those points, it can then start use that as a radius and make a circle, right? But it's okay because it's doing the same thing with the triangles. Next one, please, QE. And eventually, it makes a series of lines around itself based on the crossing lines, the pseudo points, and the actual points, and it based off of all those triangles, it can then start figuring out where it is, and it knows it's in America. It knows it's in Texas at that point, right? It's figuring out but for precision, if you go on to the next one, please, QE, it will use triangles with the actual coordinate points, right? And that's right, as well as, right, if you just go quickly to the next one, QE, right, as well as using their radii as circles. And just go back to the one previous, please, QE. Right? And that's how it finds its position. Because that's the only way it can do it. That's how GPS actually works.
And you see, those are all straight lines coming together to vertex. Every last one of them.
Yeah, because it's treating it as two-dimensional. So once it has, see, the thing about it is, because all the mapping is already inside the receiver, right? That's green signal subpoint, that first subpoint, right? Once it figures out, right, where all those places are, and it figures out its own position, from the mapping it has internally, it knows its elevation. So it figures out its X and its Y first, and then its Z, and then it can convert that to latitude, longitude, and height above mean sea level. And that's what it does. It only needs to figure out its X, Y first. Once it figures that out, right, because it already has all the maps it needs inside, and everything's constantly being updated with GP receivers. They're constantly updating the ephemeris, and it's constantly updating its mapping, right, if you're keeping it up to date. And that's how it finds its position. That's how it does it. It gets its 2D position first, and then once it has its 2D position, it knows from its own internal mapping that, okay, I'm at this point, or this is the point we're at, so we're at X feet above or below sea level here. That's how it works. That's what it's doing, not any of these other things. And I don't care whether people want to believe in satellites or don't believe whatever. The point is that this is how it has to work. Now, it could do this on a globe, right? This is the thing. It could possibly do this on a globe with mathematics. Mathematically, it could work it out somewhat on a globe. But there's a couple of problems, right? So it's, number one, they're always telling us GPS only works on a globe. No, this is proof, everything I've shown here tonight, that GPS works on a flat plane and it uses a flat plane. But just this system alone here, that just this system would work on a globe, but it would also work perfectly on a flat plane with less mathematics. Also, you must remember it's using Cartesian coordinates. 2 and 3 dimensional Cartesian.
I was just going to bring that up and snuff it right out.
Yeah, this is the problem. And that's what I said back in this is what I was saying back in whenever it was, 2018 or 19, whenever I was doing those presentations. Those coordinates do not work on a spherical surface. And to figure all this out, it needs to make all of that a coordinates plane, or a series of Cartesian systems. It has to. There's no way around it. That's how it works. So all the zeniths from all these locations must be parallel. So
yep,
people could, yeah. So if you try and deny that, you could say, but it works on a globe. But it also works easier and better on a flat plane. And if you look at the coordinates they actually use, well, you know what I mean? They don't work on a globe.
It can work halfway on a globe until you got to where you're at. On the ground, it's over.
Yeah. So that's basically the last two sections were just making the case for globe and flat. I was giving the globe a chance, but also taking it apart. So that's basically the presentation. No need for a part 2.
Are we done?
We don't need a part 2 because the last two sections are just based off of it's just making an argument for a globe and then making the argument for flat. That's all it is. And
it's all over. Yeah. It's as soon as you say Cartesian, it's over.
Yeah, well, they're also using if you want to just flick through them fast, the other slides from number 5 and 6. So if we go to 5, the GPS and the case for a globe Earth, we're seeing the first slide is just a load of spheres based around the sphere. Second slide shows what's happening on the ground, which contradicts what they're showing happening.
Yeah, right there. It's over
Right,
there.
exactly, and this is why I put that in. The third slide then is showing this, which we've already figured out. We've already shown
Yeah.
the receiver can't do
Yep.
and can't make anything out of it because it doesn't have all the information it needs for that.
They put it in that one, Brian. Look, they had to put R in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course it is.
Yeah,
Yeah, of course it is.
Yeah, but if you've got variable R's based on a geodesic, then it becomes inaccurate, pointless, because you need to know the R
Yeah.
to resolve the triangles.
Yeah. They don't have it. So bye
Well, you need
bye
to
for
know
that
where-
one.
You need to know where you are, which is the point of what you're doing, to resolve the R in the first place. It's paradoxical, that one.
Okay, what's the next
Yeah.
slide? GPS and the
the next
case
one.
and the case
For a
for a flat Earth. My next slide would be Cartesian coordinate system. End of presentation.
Yeah, well, this is it. If you go on to the first slide after the first slide of the 6th section, that's the slide that I used in back 2018-19 mostly, or maybe it was before that. That slide there just shows what's really going on in reality, because the green square represents reality.
Well, somebody's down here. Somebody's down here in hell.
But I don't know what they're doing down there. All the measurements are happening on the surface. But yeah, we just quickly go to the next slide. That's just that system again, as I just pointed out.
Yep.
It's going to be using what they're showing on that green square on that Cartesian. The next one is their contradiction. Do you know what I mean? They have to make circles that interlap, right?
Of equal elevation.
Yeah, exactly. And the radio, we all know radii don't bend.
Nope.
Radius is a straight line.
Yep.
Next slide, please. They're using right-angled triangles, which means the GP point here of the sun would be a satellite subpoint, right?
Yep.
Next one, please. Aircraft are using them. The aircraft use these coordinates and GPS all the time. Aircraft only fly horizontal paths. Lift accounts for weight. There's no way to account for the weight of the aircraft. They must fly at above horizontal pitch to fly horizontally. So how could aircraft be using them to fly around the globe? Can't be done. Next one, please. This is like if you this is a three-dimensional XYZ grid. So if you had a line through the center of that, you'd be talking about how much above or below that line is your elevation, but your point on the grid is going to be 2D, X,
Yep.
Y, and there's no way for any part of that grid to be different in dimension to any other part.
Yep.
Next one, please.
Well, just to go back to that one, right? Particularly with regards to the previous slide, aeroplanes.
Where do you want me?
If we're on a ball, you see that grid suddenly, as Brian mentioned before, has diverging zeniths.
Yep.
Think about that now. What that shape becomes for aeroplanes.
And then it would start to distort also. It would distort because it would have to distort.
Yeah. It can't work.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you go on to the next slide, please, Kiwi, where it shows a surface of a globe, where I've added in some stuff.
Yeah, I'm there.
So, yeah. So this is the ridiculousness of it. You won't be able to use a right-angled triangle because if you treat the star as a satellite on a globe, you won't have that to work with. So there's no way to figure out your arc length here because because you only have that angle between the purple line and the black line coming up. That's all you have if you're using a tangent plane. And that's basically that and whatever information you got about its subpoint. So there's no way to make this to work.
Yeah, this is going to nowhere land.
Yes, exactly. It's going nowhere. Yeah. Next one, please. Almost done.
Well,
Just
just one
once
second
again-
again. Go back one, Kerry.
Oh man.
Because they'll claim they don't have right angles, right? But they have, look, on the tangents that they've created.
I
Look
drew
at
them
this
in.
picture. Yeah, I know, but you've drew it honestly for the way their delusional fantasy plays out. But can you see that we're supposed to? These right angles are supposed to be on the same plane to each other. Can you see how the mismatch occurs now when those right angles and the distance that the co-angle creates are relative to traversing the surface between one right angle to the GP of the star and one right angle to the observer. They're not commensurate surfaces, and that picture shows it beautifully.
Yep. I like how he gave him a 90 on there. That's some bullshit right there, but I'll let it
I
go.
didn't want to call them out either. They're nowhere near all of it.
I know. Yeah, we go on to the next slide. We're only a couple of slides left. Just horizontal reference. Just showing it here. This is what they're using with celestial navigation. They're using exactly the same thing.
Oh, where'd Brian go?
Cut out, Brian.
Brian, did they come and get you? We'll wait on him. Did he pop out?
He's just gone quiet. He's not. He's muted. Are you there, Brian?
Hello, I'm back. Yeah, I got a phone call.
Yeah.
Give me a moment there.
Shut up, Adam.
Hey, just real quick, Adam or QE, you were talking about plotting a function. Now, a waveform, when you're talking about signals, what does that require when you're plotting a waveform function?
Oh,
A Cartesian grid system.
yeah.
Well, you need a straight line, right?
Yes.
With a baseline.
Yes.
Or is there any straight lines on a globe?
No. Not on the surface. That's
I'm
what
back there if you want to.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, that's a paradox. Go ahead, Brian.
I'm just saying, yeah, I'm back there. We only have like maybe 3 slides left to finish off the whole thing.
We're good. Go ahead.
Okay, so I should be showing the one with the sun and the horizontal coordinate system.
Yeah, there we go.
Replace the sun. Yeah, thank you. If you replace the sun with a satellite, this is what they're claiming is happening. They're using right angle triangles and azimuth to a satellite. Now, they don't as I showed with how that was the whole point of me showing what I showed, how it's actually working is what they're doing is they're using the compass direction. That's how they're finding it out.
Yeah.
That's how they're finding out because I'm not saying they won't use this system or they won't use the solving of the right angle triangle. I'm not saying they're not doing that or that isn't happening. But the way I showed there, as you can show, like why would a GPS receiver need a compass? Why would it need a compass?
That you know what? I hadn't thought about that. It should have hit me. It should have hit me before when you showed the compass heading on the Garmin.
Yeah.
That's a good damn question.
Go back a load of images where Brian's got the green square placed on the globe and look at what north is when it's placed on the map. This is one of the things we've said with 10. There you go. Perfect. Where's north? Sorry, where's that pointing? Is that pointing?
It's pointing up in the sky.
Is it not pointing to the North Pole then?
Not the magnetic North Pole, no.
These are some of the math. Me and Brian look at things in different ways, but like these are just mathematical mismatches here for me. We're not. As soon as you put north, it works perfectly on a Cartesian system onto that pole. It no longer makes any freaking sense.
Yeah, that's right. This is a powerful.
It has an angular relationship. It never had before.
Sorry, this is a powerful slide. I think Brian noted that a couple times because this was way back in the beginning too. This is a pretty powerful slide. This has a lot of ins and outs and what have yous, man. I like this. I like this one. I'm keeping this one.
Yeah, keep them all. Yeah, it is. Because it shows non-reality and reality.
Yep. Look at this, ballers. You try to reconcile this in front of one of us now. Oh boy, it's your ass. Okay, we done?
We have 3 slides left. 3 left. That's it. Okay. The next one should show the words co-altitude on it.
Yep.
Yeah. That's just basically if that was 4, if you have those where it shows those 60 degrees, if you take those 4 points as 4 receivers and they're at an equal distance from satellite, let's just say, or whatever, a signal in the air, then that's what it's going to look like because they're using the horizontal coordinate system. Next one, please, Kiwi.
I think that's it, man.
Is that it? I thought there was 2 more.
Nah, that's it.
Oh, maybe. I don't know what happened. Because the next one, actually, it doesn't matter anyway.
Yeah.
It's over.
It's over. Okay, that was a good one. All right, folks. And with that, I'll let it go. I'll let it go for a couple minutes, man. I'm just joking.
I have to drop out.
You didn't slide my picture in the middle of all that.
You didn't send it to me.
I did.
You sent it over Skype. I can't be in Skype and be on slide duty, Adam.
I have to drop out. I'll try and get back in because I have a phone. My mother rang me. I must ring her back. She needs some help with something.
Okay.
So I'll come back in a minute if you're still going. Thank you.
Okay.
Bloody good Samaritan.
There's your slide. I snuck it in.
I didn't want it. I spent ages trying to find a picture of me on my phone. There isn't any because I take them all. So I'm to be behind it. So I had to go online and find myself getting rumbled in Rome.
Sorry. Yeah, I already put it up, Adam. I know you can't see it because I didn't share that screen, but it's you.
That's you.
All right.
My hair's a bit longer now and grayer.
Yeah. Yeah, it should be. All right, let me take this down. Don't exit out, John.
Well, I learned a bit there. A bit. About what they claim is so.
Yep. Yes, sir. The biggest thing that stood out to me was, again, that slide. I know there's a lot more that probably stuck out to you, but for me, it was the slide that you backed us up to. Yeah, because you can spend all day there and point out the little peccadillos. And just the Cartesian coordinate system. I've always known that, right? It's just the simple. It's the death knell. It's like a silver bullet. It's like a silver spear right in the heart of the globe.
Me, it's where all the calculations are done. Okay, once you've done all the calculations, you can then project it how you want. And what Brian's shown tonight is it's not just the calculations; it's how it's actually derived and calculated within. It's then transposed on your sat nav.
Yep.
Onto Google like that. But actually, the way in which all of it's done is off a flat Cartesian grid.
Yep.
However they portray they do it, taking it back to hell or whatever.
It doesn't matter.
No, and you've seen the complexity involved and the admissions in the software people, you know, and how they do it. They do it on a flat grid. So how you then portray it afterwards is kind of, like I say, inconsequential if you understand how it's actually calculated and done. More fundamentally measured.
Yes, the bottom line is everything, you can tell a whopper of a story, but when I ask you for the bottom line for where I'm at with GPS, it's Cartesian. The globe is dead right there. So you can flower up everything, talk about fairy tale, second law of thermodynamics violating satellites. That's where I kill it, by the way. But once you get to the Cartesian coordinate system, you better skip that part, ballers. But you ain't going to be able to, because everyone that's watched this presentation, guess what they're going to be telling you? Cartesian coordinates, sphere tart? That's what they're going to be telling it your ass. Have a nice day. We're still.
A lot of the stuff.
I'm sorry. We're still here, by the way. I'm going to keep this going, even though I am in charge of making dinner tonight. And guess what? It is dinner time right now. I'm gonna let this go for a little while longer. Adam, you're gonna be in charge because I got to start preparing.
You get a cooking.
Yes.
I've talked enough, to be honest. Well, I haven't, and I will talk more. But I'd like to open it up because we've got a good panel tonight.
Yes.
I'd just like to open it up to them because Brian's, like I said, I've learned a lot. So I just want to open it up to the guys.
Yes.
I know John Refracted wants to get in, so I'll start with him and then anyone else just follows. But yeah, I'm in charge.
You are in charge right now, Adam. Give me about, I would say, 10 minutes. Just take charge.
Okay. You get a cooking. Refracted, over to you, bro. What was your point, mate?
Oh, I was going to say so much of the stuff that Brian covered tonight in the GPS systems are reflected in orbital mechanics when you start getting into how the reference angles are measured, the apogee, perigee, different aspects of it. Like it all goes back to a flat plane, just like with GPS. And now it may not be a Cartesian coordinate system, but it is a flat plane angle-based coordinate system they use.
Yep, everything geometric starts with a flat plane, pretty much. Like even learning about it.
Well, I'm curious.
Go on, John.
Okay, I'm back in charge. My wife.
How was that?
I'm sorry, my wife is cooking another meal, and it's going to take her 10 minutes to get done. So in 10 minutes, I'll be gone for 10 minutes. Please continue on. Sorry for the interruption.
Well, I was going to say the paradox of the waveforms they're claiming to get to find their location. I don't see how they can rectify that in their minds, because if you try to graph a wave on a curve, you're going to deform your wave and you won't be able to gather any useful information from it.
But you don't think about that part, you see?
Yeah, but once you think about it, once you think about it, it's a problem.
Everything. Then you have to rearrange everything in order to justify whatever there is or isn't, right?
How do you justify, because the waveform is just the waveform. It's what's measured. How do you justify bending that in your mind? I don't, because if you try to bend it, you're going to distort it and it'll be useless.
Well,
So
it turns out that when you send a signal, even through satellites over the Earth, that, yeah, it goes very far and it just seems to curve with the Earth.
No, I'm sorry, they're not. I'm sorry.
Which you
I'm sorry. No. They're not waves either.
Right, that on top of it, of course. But
No, I don't.
But the point
this
is
an
that-
important point about curving waves, Arwin. Because we've heard 7/6 alpha lie, and they use 4/3 R for terrestrial Wi-Fi waves and stuff to explain why these waves go too far in inverted brackets. But if they're going to invoke that, then everything really turns to shit, doesn't it?
no,
Because
you know what's coming.
If we've not got straight pings, yeah, if they bend, therefore their time variance, yeah, the distance they travel is not a straight line, because we have this any variance like that. Like I said, a 4/3 or for Wi-Fi transmission they've claimed. Then this pinging and trigonometric use that's being used here becomes useless because we've got curved lines again, haven't we? All those triangles that Brian described become curved.
Oh, it's solved another way. You see, it bounces off the ionosphere. Come on. We learned this in the 90s.
You can't do that. We're not going down that. This isn't the show for that. There is no ionosphere.
Yeah, no shit.
So they don't invoke it. It doesn't exist.
It exists in their mind in that moment when you ask that question.
There's a lot of things that may exist in their mind, but I don't need to know about it.
Oh, you will be. You will.
I will not know about it from you.
Right.
Cards!
The waveform is not a wave. It is a mathematical function, right? Like, that's the thing, that you cannot bend that, or you don't have that mathematical function anymore. That's the point.
All a wave, man. It's all a wave, because you could think of it as such, and that makes everything connect off, right? Reality is a wave. Just got to go with the flow.
You need a baseline to measure this or plot this wave on. You cannot bend that baseline, else you deform your wave.
Maybe.
Maybe.
There's no maybe about it.
I like the maybe. It was nice. I like that, Arwen. How's it going?
I'm just trying to defend like what the baller's mind, how it will rearrange whatever you're saying in that moment to fit, to basically cough up a quick excuse. It's all about the reflex excuses, right? That's even like how they learn it in school, that sort of stuff. It's like, oh, what about this and that? Oh, you're supposed to say this, right? And there's like old-fashioned kind of dumb responses that people have that includes like, oh, what if you fall over the edge, right? That's like the lower down type of conditioned responses. And then you have like the math-based responses of the people who learn of this kind of stuff, were enthusiastic about it in school and in universities, and they have the higher type reflexes. And yeah, I'm interested in that because you can really see like how a baller will respond. You can almost immediately size up their education level. And that's just fascinating. Wouldn't you say?
Okay, well, now that we went down the crazy mind of a
Thanks
baller.
for that.
Try and save us because Arwen's trying to justify this from the viewpoint, like, as Refracted said, of a baller.
Damn it, you got on that, did you?
Well, it can only be believed from a ball point of view. Now, obviously, most of the world believe they're on a ball. So it can only be believed from that point of view, but it can never be actually proven, only from a flat plane. That's the thing about it. That's the problem we have.
That flat plane.
Are you saying all roads lead to flat Earth?
Yeah, they have to, sure. I don't even know why anyone's surprised about that, because how can it not? If the Earth is flat.
Yep.
So they have to. Everything you do has to come back to the horizontal plane we live on. You know, that's it.
Right. And even when you learn about geometry, where does it start? Well, it doesn't start with a ball. It starts with a flat plane or a line, maybe, right? That's where you start to learn about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, the problem is when we're using geometry, the type of geometry we use, the only way it is applicable to a ball is from its center point. It's not applicable to a ball on a surface because when I say that, like, okay, arcs are part of geometry, but it's not applicable for, let's say, commercial use on a curved surface or anything like that. You can't. It can only be shown mathematically. It can't be shown in any other way. The reason is
right.
What?
Yeah,
I'm
okay,
sorry.
I've got it.
I'm sorry.
got it.
I
Okay.
just see
But
it.
spheres are like a oversimplification function.
Owen, just bear with me 1 second, please. A shout out Retro Bill, $10 super chat. Are you gonna? I'm not gonna answer this. Fine, you're gonna have to. Huey, Brian, quick! I'm lost. Help me find my way home.
We gotta find the height of the picture, man.
Yeah, if we can find out the height of the photograph after we've taken the photograph, then we'll know where we're going.
Nice one, Retro Bill. Nice one. Touche. Thank you.
I'd say people are going to have to watch that presentation a couple of times because there's a lot in there. It's actually very simple. It's very simple. It's like Cartesian coordinates don't work on a globe. Simple as.
That's what I got. That's what I got it. I got it.
I mean, that is all you
what-
need, really. But go on, Adam.
Well, I was going to say, you've showed in a number of ways how they don't. We mentioned that picture that QE's hijacking, the north one, when you strap it on a globe. But there's the other one with your dubious right angles. As dubious as they are, it doesn't really matter. Look, that's not one flat plane where those two lines meet, which is described as a flat continuous plane between the P points of the GP and the observer. That picture to me shows how and what they're doing. Okay, as I said earlier, everything works on the flat Cartesian system. Everything's calculated on that. What they then do is transpose it onto a ball, and when we pick certain points, like with the Brian's dodgy right angles, that picture kind of highlights the mismatch of what the calculations show, and how it fits on a ball. To me, that is that's the one. That is a good mismatch. That shows you how the calculations do not fit at the midpoint before you've strapped everything on, calculated everything, and put it back onto a ball. This is kind of this midpoint of calculation where we're calculating things. But purple and the blue lines should be one line. It should be one colour. That's how it's calculated. When mid-calculation, you try to exemplify it on a ball, that's what you're shown. Disco ball Earth, guys. Look at it.
Well, that's the thing about it. Like, if the problem is they tell the public that your GPS receiver is told where it is by the satellites. That's not the case. It has to figure it out, and the way they try and give it for it to figure it out, it wouldn't even work. If we lived on a globe, what they're telling us would still be lies, because it wouldn't work even if we did live on a globe. Do you know what I mean? It's such a load of rubbish.
Those two baselines, Brian, just pull it back to GPS. Is that commensurate with the GPS system, those two different baselines?
No, because their system has to use the horizontal coordinate system along with Cartesian. So, let us not forget, the latitude and longitude is also horizontal. Polar is horizontal. So that's the problem they have. There is no coordinate system for a globe. You can only arc the distance. You can only arc the straight horizontal distance you measured in reality. Mathematically, that's all you can do. That's what you can do.
Adam.
Literally, go on.
Sorry, man. I got my 10 minutes start now because I got to go start dinner. Okay, but you guys rock on. I'm going to leave you live.
I'd have gone for 10 minutes if he hadn't said out. So carry on, Brian.
Go on.
No, just saying that that if we all lived on a globe, they would still be lying to us, because the way they say it works can't work on a globe. Because for a start, if you look at their claims of the receiver is told where it is by 4 satellites, that if we were on a globe, that's not true. If you look at the details, it's not true. It gets information off of from 4, let's say, satellites, if we're on a globe, about the coordinates of the ground position of those satellites, and it gets an angle to the satellite, and it gets a timing, right? So you'd work out the two-way speed of light calculation timing. to and an altitude. Sorry, it's getting all that information, but it's not being told where it is. It has to figure it out itself. And off of that information, using a curved surface, it can't figure it out. It can't do it. If all it really actually has is an angle off a tangent plane and some information on top of that of a coordinates, that could be anywhere. If you think about what a globe, that coordinates could be anywhere. It could be any massive distance away. You have no idea. So, what in reality, that's the problem. So even if we're on a globe, it would still be lies. Because that story is so fantastical. But we're not on a globe and GPS proves it. Do you know what I mean? Because it can't work on a globe, but it can work on a flat plane, and it can work perfectly on a flat plane, and using flat plane coordinates, which it does. So.
So there, ballers.
Yeah, yeah, ballers, yeah.
Well, it must be flat to be a globe, I guess. Is that really the next thing I come up with?
Yeah, it's the flattest globe ever. You know what I mean? It must be flat to be a globe. That's the only way to work it.
Well, it has to be measured flat, calculated flat, before you can present it as a globe. That's what you've kind of shown tonight with the GPS system to me. What it's doing, how it's working, how it's proposed to work. It has to work flat. Whatever it's done after it's located the positions, yeah, and however it demonstrates those positions afterwards, kind of irrelevant. But to me, you've kind of demonstrated the way in which it works it out. It is flat because of the simplicity of the data that's sent. It can't cope with the extra variable. It has to have a fixed component, i.e., straight flat baseline. And by that, I don't mean a variation in elevation, because it will calculate for that. You can have a variation in elevation, but you can't have the elevation dropping away at the same point. That, to me, says that's how it works. And so fundamentally, however you present it afterwards, it's kind of irrelevant. Because all the measurement and calculation is done on a flat Cartesian system.
Well, yeah, exactly. Because it's like, as I said earlier, why would a GPS unit need its compass? Because that was what I was like. I remember saying to myself, "Hang on a second. Does a GPS receiver have a compass?" And I went and I checked, and it's like, a compass. It does have. Why does it have a compass? What would it be doing? Why would it need a compass?
Because it's gonna that'll orientate it to a polar grid. That makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It makes sense.
That's a conversion point between the Cartesian and the polar grids you've shown. That kind of makes sense because it's a point to orientate that match of the two grids. Like I said, go back to that first picture. We can put that north on a globe, and suddenly it has no bearing anymore. It doesn't orientate the surface, the sphere, does it? It doesn't help because it's not pointing to the same point on a map. You've now wrapped it round a ball, and as that picture showed, it ends it up sticking it up off into space. At one point, it might meet north in their model somewhere past Jupiter. I don't know. It's kind of irrelevant. The point is, it's not pointing, as the maps display, to a straight, flat baseline direction of north on the map, on the 2D Cartesian grid. It has relevance in the Cartesian grid north. It has no relevance on when you strap it onto a ball with a presupposed flat grid stuck on the top, a tangent grid.
And I remember a couple of years ago in the surveying presentations I was doing, I was trying to get people's focus onto that. This is the thing. And we did focus on it, but the focus was more on the fact that they were begging the question by having all the zeniths meet at a center point. And this all happened after all the Cartesian measurements happened. They then begged the question, because what they actually do is they take all the measurements. Now, they don't actually do this. They don't like daily do this. They just get the measurements and go off. That's all the surveyors do. But the people who want to make claims of it being a globe, after it's all been measured, they then add or. That's actually what they do. So all the information goes into a computer by the data unit or whatever, and it's then they add or in. It's like, why are you adding in or to something that you've just measured as horizontals and verticals? Do you know what I mean? You've just shown that all this area that you spent a couple of weeks measuring is like have parallel verticals and parallel horizontals, and you're going to add or to that. Do you know what I mean? So we focused on the begging the question of it, but I was trying to focus on that diagram because it gives the game away. What's happening? What's really happening is that circle is not there, and that center point is where that green square really is. Because otherwise, north, as you said, is going off to Jupiter.
Well, do you really think when north points north, as that picture says, and if you hold your compass, and I always used to think, oh, where do I have to point it? You have to point it in their world on the tangent plane for the compass to even work. Now think about that. Look at the diagram. You have to point it not at north for the compass to work. Yeah? Can't be pointing the most concentrated point of the field, to point away so that it's in alignment with the tangent plane relative to your position on the ball. It kind of denies how a compass is supposed to work in of itself.
Exactly, because a compass is any compass in anything, whether it be a digital compass, a compass in a gyro compass, just a compass you hold in your hand, compass, you know what I mean, that you'd hold at sea. It's just a horizontal plane. It's a circle. That's all it is. That's how it works. Nobody is having the compass point at a 60-degree angle above the horizon. Do you know what I mean? It's not happening.
You know, put the person on that square grid that was roughly around Britain, put them on the equator. Now, north, where does north suddenly become? It never
exactly
actually points to the North Pole, does it? Ever.
No, it never points north. It can't. If you put them at the equator, then it's pointing straight up, isn't it? Straight up in the air. It's going to Polaris in the globe model.
Exactly. Well, it won't reach Polaris because those points never meet either. But a point of dissolution, yeah. But it just goes straight away. It never heads north, does it? It just heads away from the Earth instantly on that grid. That grid is not compatible with a ball. North is not compatible with a ball.
No, it isn't, because like if you go down to Sydney and put that green square there, and where's north going to then?
You have to use south there to make it plausible, don't you? Because north becomes ridiculous.
Yeah, it does. It becomes ridiculous. Yeah, because north is pointing off out into some nether region.
You know, let me just, I ain't going to say who said this to me, but like the information you just shared, right, Brian? Imagine if my response to all of it was, it's irrelevant. You don't need to know that. Just know that they're not going to believe anything you say. Would that piss you off at all if you took the time to try to give them the information as they present it, and that the response from a flat earther is, it doesn't matter?
I suppose it would piss me off a bit. Yeah, it's like, are you telling me that all that information there doesn't matter? And why is it that they said that they would need all they need to know? What was it they said all they need to know, John? Say it again.
They said that the only position that is needed is to debunk what is known, right? And make them understand it's a belief. But now, if all you're going for is a neutral outcome where both sides are asserting a belief, what have you won anything?
Well, you haven't won anything at that point, no, because belief versus belief ends up in belief. Doesn't end up in facts, does it? If you've got a belief and they've got a belief and we're arguing about our beliefs, we only end up in an argument about that. That's not pointing out facts. I don't know. You know, the flat earthers these days, there's so many of them with so many different ideas. And go look at Globebusters last week. They did a whole thing on GPS. That was a whole presentation last week on Globe. And we had decided to do this before we knew anything about that. This was supposed to happen actually on QE Live about 2 weeks ago. But they did a whole thing on GPS. And there's nothing. They literally showed people nothing. Literally nothing. There's nothing in their presentation that would allow you to learn anything. You know, they showed a chessboard for a moment. And they said that's the coordinates that's used by GPS. Right. And they didn't even go into what the coordinates were. They didn't talk about how they were read, how they worked, you know, parallels, zeniths, all that, nothing. Just literally for a moment. You're talking 10, 15 seconds at most was this thing on screen, and it was gone. Back to ether wind.
Right. Yeah, that's like irritating, you know? Like the thing is, if your conclusion ends in not knowing, that's in the Globe's wheelhouse. It is the biggest argument from ignorance ever. So if that's where you're going to end up, is not knowing, you lost. It's not a tie, because that's where they're coming from anyway.
Exactly, John.
If I look at tonight's presentation, there's not a tie. The way in which things have been, as Brian's demonstrated, calculated, measured, is from a flat plane. It takes into account altitude from a flat baseline. Yeah. Now, this isn't scientific proof, but apply your own logic and common sense to the way it's calculated and measured, and it works to the implications as to the nature of the surface. You don't need scientific proof sometimes. You can quite happily make a claim, and I would with this, and stand by it. You don't need a neutral outcome. Brian's presentation tonight doesn't result in a neutral outcome. This is a unequivocal statement of how it's
I thought he was talking about the
and
ballers.
calculated. Yeah, I know. I'm just giving kudos to Brian. Maybe unnecessarily, Neil, in your opinion, but sorry.
No, I agree. I thought he was talking about the ballers just going for a tie. I agree with you too. But they're not being honest, because look at Unorthodox the other day. He wasn't being honest. I mean, the proof is right there. They're not being honest.
Well, the thing about this, Neil, is most of the ballers, if they looked into GPS, most of them will get lost in the signals and the use of speed of light and other elements within it, and orbital velocities. When they look into GPS, they get lost in the globe. They don't see, even if I'm talking about a glober who's just somebody who's just a normal person who wants to learn about it, not even someone who's an anti-flat earther. They're going to get lost in all the fantasticness that they add to it, and they look straight past the fact that the coordinates, all the important things of how it actually has to work on the surface of Earth. They look straight past that because they get lost in fantasy. Because the globe is a fantasy. So they get lost in that.
Yeah, but Brian, I understand that. But once you show them on a piece of paper, draw a circle, say, now get me an angle from this curved surface, because that's how everything's plotted. That's how we do celestial navigation. If they're going to be dishonest from then on, then they're not even worth it. It'll catch on.
Well, we don't have a whole lot of communication with them these days because they don't tend to come around us. too much, not on this show at all. And the
Yeah,
odd
but
time
they're
on the
listening,
TV.
Brian.
I don't even know
Well,
if they
that's the
are,
thing.
Neil, because go on.
Well, I was going to say that's the thing. We don't deal in ambiguity. We deal in it's either a fact, this is the information, this is what it must be, or decisive, usually concise, maybe not always, but usually concise information. That's not going to let them play around in the weeds of what is unknown, and that is where they want to be at. And it seems like most flat earthers want to be there too.
Well, the thing about it is that tonight's presentation, what you don't have to do is you don't have to argue about the reality, about the existence of satellites or not. You don't have to argue whether a satellite exists or not, because it makes no difference to the outcome of the presentation. We're not lost in. Yeah, it makes no difference. It's still so. If satellites exist, then they must exist over a horizontal plane, because that's how GPS works, kind of thing. And that was one of my directions with it, because people get lost in stupid arguments. You know what I mean? Yeah. The only way to go, if you're going to argue about whether satellites exist, is you're going to have to go straight to the laws of thermodynamics. You know what I mean? That's the only place you can go.
Can I say something? Like I've argued with people that were like into cell phones and all that, like even before I got into flat earth, and like it seemed they were pretty straightforward that all signals from phones that are wireless all go to a cell tower, like all of them, like, and from that cell tower they go then to a satellite, supposedly. That's what they say then. Although in reality, it can easily be connected with cables over ground.
Well,
that's what
I've actually installed cell towers, and it's all fiber optic connections between cell towers.
Oh, there you go.
That's ground, baby.
That's the story that I even used to get. Right there, because people talk all over the place and they say, "Oh, I'm directly cell or satellite telephone." So, which one of those are actually directly connected to a satellite or to a satloon, if you will? Right? It might be out there. It might be out there now, but yeah, that's because people just bragged about it, like in the 90s and stuff. Oh, I got a satellite telephone. People would have an explanation ready, and it would be, no, it goes to a tower, from tower to a satellite. Never to a satellite directly.
But how they get the signals?
Yeah, but see but they're not. They're not getting it from the satellite. Or if they are, it doesn't matter. Who cares? It only works on a flat plane.
They just say it's never the direct source. You never directly tap into whatever's supposedly up there.
No, you're not. I mean, they try and say with a GPS phone, a GPS receiver that you'd have with you. Let's say if you're hiking in a national park somewhere like Yosemite or somewhere like that in America, or some part of Australia, they try and say that if you have a GPS receiver, you'll pick up your GPS there or whatever, and it might very well do so. I mean, I don't know if they have things in the sky. I know that balloons exist. I don't know what else is up there. I don't know what they can or can't do. But I exclude all that by showing that it can only work on a flat plane. It can't work. Even if we were living on a globe, they'd still be lying to us with how they say it works. That's the worst thing about it. The ballers never look into things. They don't look into stuff. We look into stuff, and all they can come. Like, I can guarantee, if they came back at me tonight, they'd only be picking on little tiny specifics, little, sticking pins in me. That's all they could come back, because you can't. I've used official sources, like official things. You can't. All you can do is get lost in the weeds of the signals and how the signals work and general relativity and all this involved, or you can just look at what's actually happening. What's actually happening is, there's no direct proof that there's no direct proof for anything for a globe in GPS. There's only for the opposite.
All right, guys.
What I'm noticing a lot is that, like, supposed actual telecommunication devices, or those types of devices, they have a certain look to them that they hang up, right? And even like 5G, They all look a certain new type. Well, those things don't have like a satellite dish above them pointing upward to a supposed satellite, like they never do. So that's telling, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a lot about it that's telling.
It tells us it's time for the end of the show.
No, wait, because we hit on kind of good visual thing. You know how you like that grid, the map pointing north, and it was pointing towards north, but nowhere near.
Yeah. Why do you want that one again?
No, well, you can. Yeah, put it up. All
right, hold up.
Just for the viewers and yourself, because I want you to put that grid on Sydney, Australia, and tell me which way north's pointing relative to north now.
Yeah, too funny. No one else. I'm not going to share it in Discord. I'm going to share it with YouTube. Go ahead. You know what it looks like.
Yeah, exactly.
You want me to flip it?
Oh, we don't need it over here. But it was.
How about that one? Oh, you can't. Can you say it?
I'll say it in a minute. Yeah, are you ready to round out? Yeah.
I was gonna make a couple small announcements and then head and send it over to you. But yeah, do you see it? It's the best Sydney I can get.
Where have I got to see it?
It's on the live stream.
Oh yeah, exactly. But of course, you want the antipodal to north because you've turned it round. So that's Sydney. So now look where it goes. Draw that straight line north because that north is now south. It's kind of close and approximate. But look how the true north, the opposite of the north there, would be divergent to the point of.
Yes, you can see the divergency a little bit better, right? Yeah.
It's just laughable.
Yeah, I agree. It's over. I got to turn it back straight up. So, listen, it was an outstanding presentation, Brian. Listen, they don't have to get all the details out there. They don't need all the details. I know how I'm going to kill it. And number one starts off with the second law. I'm going to destroy the satellites. I'm going to just get rid of them, poof, into outer space, no pun intended, and then go directly for the kill shot, right to the Cartesian coordinate system. Just take it right there and just rock 'em, sock 'em robots. It's going to blow to the head, blow to just flurry of blows. It's going to be a flurry of them. Yeah, outstanding presentation. Thank you very much. I'm going to keep this one. We're going to do this one again. So just be ready for that. Just want to give everyone a heads up. Every Saturday in August is an archery competition for me. So just be ready for Friday ball busters here and there. I'm just telling you, okay? I'll give you an early warning, and I'll give the board members here some early warning too, when that'll be. So just keep it. This is just for August. All right. So Adam,
doing warnings.
I'll give you
just for warnings. I'm off to Italy next week.
Okay, there's no ball busters next week, so you're squared.
I'm till late August. So I might be a bit dippy in and out through August as well.
Dipping in and out. You taking a whole month vacation?
I like to do it in a Italian style.
Okay, I got you. All right, so
Go for August.
All right, shh. So we're going to round out, folks. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. Share it, right? Get flat earthers on this. Most of them are quick study. I'm trying to be hopeful, but most people should get it. So stick with the second law of thermodynamics violation. For me, I'm just telling you what I'm going to do. You can do whatever you want. That's the easiest thing for me. Second law of thermodynamics violation, Cartesian coordinate system, game, set, match, right? But put this out to as many people as you can get. Like I said, outstanding presentation. And Adam, take us home, baby.
Well, I will. I think the most obvious thing is, thanks to Brian, that was a fantastic presentation. Like I said, not something I understood. So I learned a lot tonight. Hence one of the interruptions. Some of the nuances, like I said, with Crimson North, but I think the point I round out on, and I think the point we should reiterate if we're challenged with regards to GPS is, what is the system of plotting that it uses? To remind these ballers that it's Cartesian, and you can go into the detail of what Brian's done, is how that mismatch just does not work on a ball on so many levels. Yeah, Cartesian, baby. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you. Thanks, Adam. Thanks, Kiwi. Thanks, everybody. I enjoyed it. Thanks a lot.